Has joined us. She is
Welcome aboard.
she's an alternate member. But if anyone's watching on TV or in the audience, we have room for more. There's plenty of spaces around the table. All you got to do is see Becky Thompson, the town manager's office, and have a strong desire to participate. After that, you'll learn everything you need to know on the job. So that takes care of announcements. Anyone have anything else? All right. Public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment? All right. So next is appointments, and we get to meet with Don. Don, you want to come up and join us? And do me a favor and sign that little book there. We're a little more formal than the meetings you've been going to. So Don sent us in a letter, provided me a letter actually, which I gave to all of you, announcing his intention to join the Horse Hill Nature Preserve Subcommittee. We have one opening on that subcommittee. That's an alternate position, and its term runs until July 31st of 2018. So Don, we only have that one spot, yeah, and
Push it till the light turns green. And on the bottom, where it says push, there you go.
yeah,
You got it.
yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I've been on several of the work parties. I'm sure yourself and Matt have seen me. I've become available a lot more now that I'm retired. I've been retired 4 years. I've lived at 5 Danforth Road since 1984, and I used to go into Horse Hill before it was Horse Hill, and I've always enjoyed the area. It's unique. It has so much to offer for people that just want to hike or cross-country ski or mountain bike. I try to get in there myself at least 3 times a week just to enjoy it. I've done minor trail maintenance when I've had the opportunity. If a limb has come down and nobody's reported it, I do have a hand saw that it's come in handy at times. But what I wanted to do was step up and maybe offer my services, my ability to help out even more than just the occasional work party. So when Deb Huffman had indicated that there was an opening, it took me a while to sort out what the proper procedure was to apply, but that's when I did the short request that I gave you at the last Horse Hill meeting, and since you invited me to come this evening, I put it in my calendar so that I would be available and able to answer any questions if anybody has any.
Mm-hmm. Yep, so Don's been a pretty regular at the Horse Hill Subcommittee meetings, so he participates quite a bit. He did some good GPS work and got us all the trails GPSed, but the official trails, I should say, and kind of left off the ones that were unofficial, which was great. Marked a bunch of spots.
Well, that's very little on my part.
Yeah.
But I've helped out in some other areas as well with marking of trails and just making sure that the property is beautiful and litter free and wildlife friendly as possible, and that's why I think more so when the Kinder Morgan project was being considered going right through it, that really drove me up the wall, and I said to myself, what can I do to help out even more with the Horse Hill Committee? So I guess that was my my impetus to get involved was seeing that maybe destroying a lot of what we've come to enjoy there.
Yep.
Matter of fact, it's interesting. There was late last week, there was a low-flying helicopter. I didn't even think they could fly that low, that flew right over the power lines that go through the Horse Hill. And it had some green and white markings on it, but I couldn't pick up anything else. And that gave me a scare that maybe there's there's something else going on. But it could have been, I know there was also some work closer to the other end where I think there was some clearing being done. But seeing that helicopter flying low, I was saying to myself, I hope the plans for the project haven't changed again.
Yeah, Eversource did some pole maintenance on the west side of Horse Hill.
Okay.
Along the power line easement area, because they needed to shore up some of the poles. They were afraid of a big storm taking them down. So
All right.
they had to clear for it. They put footings down, and they put guy wires, large ones, going up to support the structures. So I went out and took pictures of it probably a couple of months ago as they were in the middle of doing their process. So
Okay, good to know.
yeah, so they might be just monitoring their lines. I know that they've been doing flyovers in other places as well.
Mhm.
So yeah. So good. Any questions, thoughts, comments?
I have a comment. Thank you, Don, for making it official and putting your name on a roster. It's a great thing to see people coming forward with the love for the conservation land that I think everybody in this room shares. One thing we were talking about at the town council meeting regarding the pipeline is, like, if there was anything good that came from this, it has brought people forward who were not necessarily, not that Gina hasn't done her fair share of volunteering in town, but not necessarily in these types of projects. So it's brought people forward to volunteer, and that's definitely a good thing. And just because the preferred route isn't going through Horse Hill now doesn't mean that it won't go back to Horse Hill. So we just need to be ever vigilant and watch the proceedings to see where that route is going to end up. But thank you. We appreciate
Sure.
it.
Anyone else?
I'd like to make a motion
Mm-hmm.
to appoint Don to the vacant alternate spot on the Horse Hill Nature Preserve Subcommittee.
I'll second it.
Any more discussion on the motion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye.
Okay, great.
Opposed, abstentions, that passes 6-0-0. And welcome.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
For
you.
all you've done out there.
Yeah.
All right.
Glad to have
Welcome.
you. So,
Thanks for allowing me to help out even more.
yeah, good. Just for a minutes taker, we started at 6:32 p.m. And so that takes us now to our next item, and that's Hayner Swanson Incorporated Pennachuck Waterworks, about an outflow structure. Good evening. When you do get settled, I do ask that you announce who you are into the microphone for our minutes taker and sign in for me. Whoops. Crash. Well, 2 or 3 legs worked. And Matt, can you bring that other mic over?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. For the record, my name is Steve Auger. I'm a project manager with Hayner Swanson, and our office is located at 3 Congress Street in Nashua. Joining me at the table tonight is Mr. Mark Fillion from the Construction Bureau of Pennachuck Waterworks. He'll, like myself, he'll be here to answer any questions about the project. The reason we're before you is to discuss a buffer encroachment on an ongoing water main project that Pennachuck is involved in. That's not just the buffer encroachment hasn't happened. That's I should rephrase that. What's ongoing is the construction of the water main. So if I can situate you, if you want to look, take a look at the plan here. Basically, this dash line right here represents the construction of a 36-inch main that runs from Manchester Street and then all the way across Pennachuck's property, and then will eventually tie in to a 42-inch water main here, and this is in the relative vicinity of the treatment plant that's located right off Concord Street, just a little bit over the border. So as I said, Pennachuck is in the process of completing construction on this 36-inch water main. Basically, right now, the Concord Street treatment plant, they get their raw water from 2 sources. The first is the Merrimack River, and that runs north of this site and infiltrates into Bowers Pond, which eventually finds its way down here into Harris Pond. The other is from Pennachuck Brook, which finds its way into the reserve system, and that works its way to the treatment plant here. So what the point of this water main is should, for whatever reason, if Harris Pond should be contaminated for some reason, then that kind of puts a halt to what the treatment plant is doing. So this 36-inch main acts as a bypass, so to prevent a fail-safe, from any contamination that should happen in the pond. Currently, about 7,400 feet of that line has been constructed, and like I said, that's shown up here. That's phase 1 of the project. Phase 2 of the project will be the connection down here, and I'm just going to flip the plan to show you the close-up of this. This right here is the existing aeration building, and what's being proposed to be constructed on the line is the overflow structure, and that's going to pipe down here through a 3x4 concrete culvert, and then that would outflow from a head wall into a riprap, which is going to be constructed basically right. We're not actually getting into the water, but right along the edge of the shore. These 2 red lines right here, this first one, this is the 25-foot no-touch buffer, and then this here is the 40-foot building setback buffer. As part of the initial project, we did file a shoreland permit with the state. That was the plan, that first plan that I showed you in the area highlighted in red. That was why we had to file the permit. We were approved by the state. As we go through this second aspect of the project, we'll be amending that permit and filing it with the state, where we're just about at that point, but we just want to hold off. So we have to come before you folks, and then we will be filing to go before the zoning board on the 24th for a special exception to work in these buffers. So basically, if you take a look here, what we're doing is the concrete culvert is about 95 feet long, and that ends in about when it hits the head wall and the riprap, that's about 15 feet long there. We are in the Aquifer Protection District for what it's worth.
It's worth a lot.
Um, so I guess the big reason is well, why are we doing this? It's actually the overflow structure. It acts as a fail safe. So for whatever reason in the future, should the treatment plant not be able to handle the amount of water that's coming through the bypass line, if it has to shut down, that's all going to back up into this. So it provides pressure relief. So if that should come out of the overflow structure, then the water coming down the culvert, it's not going to just straight discharge right into Harris Pond. It's not going to erode the shore. It's going to hit that riprap. It's going to get some treatment. So that's just the means that we're trying to do the right thing and ensure some type of safety, for the future.
Let me just add on that. Basically, what the structure acts as is a relief valve.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Basically, what this overflow structure acts is really it's a big relief valve for the 36-inch line. Should the water pressure cause it to back up? So basically, it's a relief valve.
So 90% of the time, it's going to be dry.
Yes. Realistically, the only time we'll be using this is when during the summer months when we have to bypass everything. We ideally like to keep the normal flow, which is into Bowers Pond and through the reservoir system. So should, like Stephen was mentioning, should there be an issue with the ponds, contamination or something, this provides us a true secondary source of water, of raw water.
Mm-hmm.
If anyone has any questions, we'll be glad to answer them.
So what kind of velocities do you think will come out of that pipe before it hits the riprap? Are you talking lots of gallons per minute? Are you talking...
Potentially it could be, the full discharge of the pipe.
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, that's going to be a worst-case scenario. FS&T is the design engineer on this project. They've factored all that in the worst-case scenario as far as the velocities coming out of that with the riprap and stuff that they've indicated on the plans.
Do you see this coming into use like during a heavy runoff, heavy storms? Or?
No, absolutely not.
No?
No, this is just, the only time this is if we're using this secondary source of water where we're pumping directly from the Merrimack to the treatment plant and essentially bypassing the ponds. So that's the only time. And then in the event that the treatment plant, could not use that amount of water for whatever reason and had to shut it off at a relatively rapid rate, then this would basically act like a relief valve and it would come through this structure.
So which part of this structure is actually going to be within the within the shoreland area?
Let me flip over one more sheet. It's a close-up. You'll see.
Yeah.
So this right here is a close-up of the head wall and the riprap. What I did is this blue line here, this is the edge of the pond, and then 25 feet back is what this red line here represents. So as you can see, we'll be working here to construct the head wall and to lay the riprap, and then doing some grading along here in order to restore the land to tie it into the head wall.
Okay.
So the 42-inch pipe that you said is feeding, that comes straight from the Merrimack?
No, what the 42-inch is down by the D&M building. That's an existing pipe that, I don't know if that plan really shows it. What happens right now, we get our water from the Harris Pond, and there's a 72-inch steel pipe that comes from the Harris Pond that directly feeds via that 42-inch into our treatment plant.
Okay.
That's fed by gravity. This will bypass that and tie directly into the 42.
That's more or less right here, correct, Mark? Where the
Down below. No, you're right.
yeah, this is where the 36 ties in, correct?
No, it's actually down below. This is where the overflow structure is right
Right, but this line in red here, this is the extension of the overall water line.
here.
This, yeah. Okay.
currently there's a crane out there.
Yeah, that's a completely separate
Yeah,
project.
in relative to where this is, where's that crane? Just
at the Harris Dam right here.
okay. All right, great. Just so I can visualize it.
Yep.
Great, thank you.
And that's the one you can see from Manchester Street when
Yes.
you go over the bridge.
Yeah, that's the last project we probably saw you here for. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm not involved with that project, but
right.
We hope that goes to a museum somewhere.
what's that?
The valve.
Oh. I didn't see that one.
I had two questions, and forgive me because I'm new and I don't understand all of this very well. You said the treatment plant gets water from the Merrimack River and Pennachuck Brook. So is that the treatment plant would treat the water that we drink? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, so we're actually drinking Merrimack River water? Is that how it
we
works?
have two sources of water. The main source is from the Pennachuck stream system, which is the series of ponds.
Right.
Supply Pond, Harris Pond, Bowers Pond. The secondary source, we can presently pump Merrimack water into the ponds. It comes through the ponds, and we get that from the Harris, 72-inch pipe from the Harris Pond. This would pump directly in from the Merrimack River.
Oh, okay, so this new structure that you want to build would be able to pump water directly from the Merrimack River?
Yeah, the new pipeline, this
Okay.
36-inch pipeline, would bypass all that,
Okay.
bypass the ponds.
Okay, just curious why. I mean, I've lived in New Hampshire for 21 years, and I mean, Pennachuck has been here that whole time. Why all of a sudden do you want to do this?
It'll provide us with a truly secondary source of raw water. If something were to happen to the reservoir system, it'd be contaminated, a tractor trailer flip over on the Everett Turnpike or something and contaminate the ponds. We'd be out of source of raw water.
But wouldn't that have been a concern before? Why did we not do something like this 20 years ago?
That's why we're addressing it now. I can't answer that question, but that's why we're addressing it now.
Okay, thank you.
Better late than never.
Yeah, and it obviously been a large expense to do this. So,
All right, so today you're looking for us to provide input to the ZBA for your
Correct.
for your adjustment that you're asking for.
Yes, correct.
So, for the rest of you, within 25 feet of a wetland is a no disturb buffer, means really no disturb. Don't tinker and play with it. So if you're going to do something, you actually have to get relief from the ZBA in order to do that. So as a point of reference, some of you may remember the Flatley Company wanted to do a bridge in the wetland zone, and we worked through that process, but then they realized that they had to go to the ZBA, and they were just by the ZBA to get approval for that actual adjustment because they were in the no disturb buffer as well, just so you're aware. So this, we haven't seen too many of these come up though. So.
I've got one quick question for you. You're showing a flap gate on that pipe on the outlet. Is that something that's just going to be by pressure open and closed? Or
yes.
So
Yep.
when there's water flowing, it's going to be open when
That is correct.
it's just going to close back down, just try
Yes.
to keep things from falling back up the pipe.
Exactly.
So if Harris Pond were to fill, or overfill, would it be able to get back up into your pipe?
No, basically Harris Pond is set at a certain elevation.
Mhm.
Once it gets to that elevation, it flows over
Down
the
to
dam
Supply.
into Supply Pond.
Okay. And that's the dam that's being fixed right now.
Harris Dam is being fixed right now,
Okay.
yes.
So there's no way for it to backflow. Okay.
No.
So while you're in this vicinity doing that work, are you thinking of using fertilizers or anything else to as part of restabilizing the bank or any of the area that you're impacting?
We wouldn't be using fertilizer. We'd be stabilizing it, and
Yeah.
once we, get it stabilized, and
So how would you be stabilizing it then?
I don't know if they indicate in the plans, but I mean, typically,
Yeah,
we
I didn't see it, that's why I'm
Yeah.
asking, yeah.
okay. I mean, that's something we can address, but I mean, I would think it would be by some type of construction, you know, some type of fabric with a mulch and stuff.
Mhm, okay. So, go ahead, yep.
Process.
Yep.
So what, and I read your email asking the same questions, and I'm still not clear. I think it's interesting, the timing of this with the pipeline, too. It's just, it's what everybody's thinking about, so this kind of sets off little flags in my head, wondering about the timing of it. But as far as this body, what is it that we're supposed to be either making recommendations, or I'm not sure what our responsibilities are and what we are capable of commenting on. If you could just explain that to me, that would be helpful.
So, what they're looking to do is get the ZBA to provide them relief. There is no mechanism in our town subdivision rules or zoning rules that, as far as I remember, as far as I know, that says they really needed to stop here. But the ZBA could have asked for them to come here and ask us for a recommendation to them as to whether or not we thought it was appropriate for them to change the rules for Pennachuck in order to do what they wanted to do. Because essentially that's what the ZBA has the authority to do. They have authority to overwrite the rules or break the law, you might say, or allow someone else to do that. But beyond that, it's not part of our normal thing, so.
So we would just be making a recommendation like we do on similar other projects about whether we'd support them?
Well, I think Pennachuck is looking for us to provide some level of support or positive recommendation to the ZBA.
Okay.
Okay?
All right, and how do you want to handle that as far as, do you want to get consensus from the group, or do you want to take a formal vote? What is it that you're looking to do?
Yeah, so I've been pondering the same thing, so.
Okay,
And please interrupt me if you think I'm misspeaking what your intent is for us tonight.
No, that's typically how, whenever in other municipalities, whenever we work within a wetland buffer, have to get a special exception. It's always standard practice to go before the Conservation Commission first and introduce the project. With regards to stabilization, we're gonna work within the disturbance of the buffer to restore it as natural as possible. Without using any types of fertilizers or anything that would contaminate the water body that that really defeats the purpose of what the pipeline's for. So that's absolutely the last thing that we want to do. So we're here to share what we're doing and hopefully get your support as we go before the ZBA looking for their permission to work within the buffer.
Yeah. So for us, it's very uncommon to do that. We just haven't seen this very often. So.
No. I understand. I mean, usually most wetland disturbances or buffer disturbances have to do with, like, if you're trying to gain access to your property for development, and there's like a thumb of wetland that runs through, and that's where you're going to put your service road or something like that. That's a lot more typical of going before the ZBA for a special exception. This is sort of a rarity because of the type of things construction projects that Pennachuck does, which obviously water is their specialty. So,
And just so the public, I don't know if you have the stat with you, but I think it'll make the people on TV feel a little bit better about the project. Do you know can you tell us how many Merrimack residents are going to be using this water supply?
I don't have that number. I don't.
there's a few hundred households that get their, but they're using the water now without this project.
Right.
So this isn't going to increase capacity to Merrimack households.
Yeah, I just wanted
But there are a few
to
hundred,
be aware
a few
that
hundred households that get their water from Pennachuck versus MBA right now.
it's the
MBD.
minority.
Yeah,
of
I know we also
Merrimack.
provide Anheuser-Busch.
Right. Anheuser-Busch, yeah, BAE Systems, and a number of the other businesses in that vicinity of town. So, yeah.
Just, Out of curiosity, I mean, I remember at one point the Merrimack River was pretty polluted. Now, if there's a problem with the water, and I understand that the water treatment center is to treat the water and make it not as polluted, but how is the water quality of the Merrimack River right now?
I'm not the water quality expert by Pennachuck, but what I'm told, actually, the water quality is actually very similar to Pennachuck Brook. So, and it's the water quality is actually is pretty good, is what I'm told.
Okay, and how connected is, in other words, if Pennachuck, doesn't the water from Pennachuck kind of run towards the Merrimack River?
Eventually it does, yes.
Okay,
But
so
where we get it, for the treatment plant, it's prior to discharging into the Merrimack.
okay, and since Jody already brought up the white elephant in the room, let's just say that the Kinder Morgan pipeline does go in, and there is some sort of water contamination at some point. How? I mean, that pipeline would be going through various. It would go right under the river. So what if water was contaminated in Pennachuck and the Merrimack River?
I mean, that's kind of a tough scenario to analyze. I mean, it wouldn't be a good situation. I don't know quite how the mechanics of that would happen, but
Okay, something to think about.
yeah.
Thank you.
Is it typical to issue the plan and then issue an addendum like this? I mean, it would seem like you've already built this pipe, that this extra red section that we're trying to build now would be in the original plan somewhere.
We had originally looked, because basically the construction of this was going to be by two different types of contractors. The water line would be, your typical utility contractor, laying pipeline, sewer line. This overflow structure and the connection is more of a specialty contractor. So that's why we'd kind of originally broken it up. And plus, we've also been dealing with how to handle the relief of this pressure, with all this water coming down. And should it, the valve have to be shut down, it's a tremendous amount of pressure. And so we've been kind of analyzing the best way to handle that. At one point, we were going to tie directly into the 72-inch steel pipe, but that was put in the 1890s, so we were a little concerned about doing that. So we wanted to get down below. So there's been a lot of, we've been working on the connection portion for a year and a half, trying to figure out what the best way. And this is, go ahead. And this is what we feel is the best, simplest method.
But this is a pumped pressurized pipe, right?
Yes, basically,
no
yes.
gravity flow through there.
Yeah, it's going to be pumped from the Merrimack.
Right. So if there's a valve shut off at the treatment plant, the pump shut down too, and this is just going to flow for however much long you have, however much volume of water's in the pipe.
Correct. And basically, it's not going to be under high pressure, but once it gets up off the Manchester Street, it's pretty much gravity at that point. Yeah.
Mhm.
So it's going to be on low pressure.
There'd be a limited flow. If that situation happened, if you had to shut down the valves at the treatment plant, there'd be a limited flow.
Correct. Yeah. But a tremendous amount of water in a 36-inch diameter pipe.
All right, so back to Jody's earlier question. I think the consensus, as we've done with other projects, works fine to provide. Or, our consensus can be that we choose to make a recommendation or we don't. So it can be fairly open, so.
Well, given the nature of this project, certainly is a worthwhile thing to do. I mean, I think I wouldn't mind supporting it at all.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the issues that they're facing in Flint, Michigan right now with contaminated water. I mean, the ability to get a clean source
Yeah.
and deal with it would be, or a different source and clean it would be definitely a benefit. And
you alluded to it, but you didn't say as you're going in between exit 10 and exit 8 on the Everett Turnpike, that's Bowers Pond that's underneath.
Correct.
So
It's
right underneath
it's
the
exposed.
highway. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what we were talking about bypassing here. So
The potential is there for something to happen.
Inca Road, I mean, there's quite a few traveled roads that go over these waterways. Manchester Street, the new bridge that just went in, goes right over this waterway. So
I hear all of you. I'm just so suspect. The timing is really suspect to me. And I am all for clean drinking water, but I'm just not sure that I understand. I mean, I wouldn't say that I'm opposed to the project, but I definitely don't personally want my name saying that I support it. I'd like to be a naysayer in that. I just don't understand the impacts to the buffer, I guess, right now, and I'm not sure that I really understand why we're doing this exactly now. So with those questions in my mind, I personally don't want to say that I support this. I would, of course, always be happy to hear more information, but I just don't think I've got enough information about the impacts and the why now, so I would just rather stay
How long's the
neutral.
project been on the books?
I've been with Pennachuck 2 years, and they started about a year and a half prior to me as far as the basic concept. And then, when I started here, that was one of the main projects we were working on as far as, design and location and what we're going to do. And
This started a year and a half ago, you started there, you said.
yes, I started
So
in,
this project's now been going on almost 4 years.
yes, 3 to 4 years, yes.
So, and I'm sure that the pipeline's been in planning for that one too. but-
And I know this has been in the back of their mind as far as having a true secondary source for much longer than that.
I don't mind being in the minority, that's okay.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be the first time.
So you already have the shoreland permit as it stands now.
For the original,
Right,
for,
yep.
for this here,
Right.
for that part in red.
Yep.
We're going to be amending it and resubmitting.
Right. Yep.
you know.
Understood. Okay. So I'll move that the commission has reviewed the project and has no concerns that it feels it needs to address with the ZBA on this project.
I'll second.
Okay. For discussion, the timing isn't an issue for me. It's an appropriate project. I understand why you're doing it. I think it's better that than to have a pipe break or damaged because of a outflow. So I think it's appropriate. So therefore, I think we should move forward with that recommendation. So, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Opposed? Okay, so that passes 4-1-1 with Jody opposed and Gina abstaining. So I'll draft that. When do you plan to go to the ZBA?
I believe the meeting is the 24th. Is the
Okay.
the application's due a week from tomorrow on the 9th.
All right. So I'll put that letter together, forward it to the chair of the ZBA. I can forward it to you. I think I have your email address.
Yes.
Does that work for you?
Yep,
Yeah.
that's perfect.
Okay. Great. Any questions, thoughts,
Nope.
comments? Okay. Great.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. So, next on our agenda is old business and police patrols. Lieutenant, you want to join us? Still lieutenant, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. You haven't pushed one of those old guys out yet?
No. We have had a few new retirements though, which is
Yeah.
unusual for us. So
Right, yeah.
So yeah, there's a little bit of turnover. Yeah, the green light's on.
Yeah.
No, it's not. There we go.
And Matt,
So-
can I get you to sign in for me?
Sure.
Oh, do you need a pen? You got a, yes. Does he need a pen, right? Dumb question. I got it. So Matt's here to talk to us about our police patrols that we did over 2015. Give us an idea of what happened, what was found, talk about a few of the numbers, that kind of
Yeah.
deal.
Yeah. Well, thanks for having me this evening. Appreciate it. So let's see. I tallied some numbers. I think the last email I might have sent to you guys, it just covered
June through August, and I think at that point we only had 7 patrols. We only conducted 7 patrols at that point. Most of the patrols, all of the patrols really consisted of weekends. We were doing Saturdays and Sundays. We kind of mix it up between the 2 days. We would work on mornings, either early to late morning into early to mid-afternoon, 4-hour blocks. We totaled 38.5 hours. It was actually 40 hours. I didn't count the hour and a half because the hour and a half extra was one that I actually worked. I was doing a fish and game detail, so I happened to, that's when this whole thing kind of kicked in. So I spent an hour and a half on that property patrolling around. So it's really a total of 40 hours. The commission only got billed for 38.5. The patrols averaged between 10 to 15 miles per patrol for those 4-hour blocks. We'd ride as much as we could ride. The areas that we couldn't get to, specifically the ones that we knew that, we couldn't either access with the four-wheeler because it was just too narrow, or the trail was such that we didn't want to drive around out there. We would get out and walk. Plus, it was just an opportunity for us to get off the four-wheeler and walk around a little bit. We had somewhere in the vicinity of 50 public contacts. And that was a mix of hikers, bikers, joggers, people walking pets. As far as any contact with anyone doing any participating in any unauthorized ATV use, trespassing, anything like that, four-wheelers, dirt bikes, anything, we didn't bump into anybody that was doing that out there during these patrols. The total cost to the commission, we got to break it down into the overtime rate because it wasn't technically a detail. We did it as a patrol overtime function. The total cost that I came up with, we all have our own different overtime rates, but it was $1,770.96. So that was the total cost that was billed to the commission for the patrols. That's not taking into consideration the fish and game one that I was on. So that's really where we're at as far as that's concerned. As far as the amount of patrols, I was hoping to get out there more. We weren't out there as much as I would have liked to have been out there. But, I mean, these are things that we can discuss. As far as need for next year, I'm going to leave that up to you folks, whether or not you want to continue with the patrols or not. The whole point of this, obviously, was to try and correct the problem that was out there, which was the unauthorized ATV use. Dirt bikes, the numbers, they're not there for that. So really it's just a matter of whether or not the commission wants to start up with these patrols again in the spring, the summer. I'm going to leave that up to you folks because it's your money here. So we like to get out there. We like the patrols. It's a nice patrol. It's a nice day for us. But at the same time, it's the commission's money that's being spent to have us out there. And we didn't bump into anybody that was doing anything unauthorized. It's not to say that wasn't going on. It's just the time that we were out there, we didn't run into any issues.
Right.
So, I know the springtime can be an issue with the melt off and the ground being soft from that, but the way this winter's going, I don't know if we're going to have much of a mud season if it stays like this. Who knows?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
actually
It's
they're
now.
out there now. Yeah.
Are they out there now? Well, it's something that we can keep going. I know that we had talked about maybe holding off
Right.
on the patrols in the wintertime, or at least until the snow flies. That's kind of the impression I was under originally. But like I said, we can start them up again if there's problems. If you're noticing something out there, then we can get out there again and start them up. That won't be an issue. It's really what you folks want, what you want to do. So
I think that the nice part about now, I was out there a lot this weekend, is you can follow them home.
well, that helps. Absolutely. It would help us identify who these people are. So, yeah, I mean, if you guys want to do it now, we can do it. I can start scheduling them again. It's like I said, it's up to you. Obviously, we're going to be out there with a four-wheeler, so we're going to be riding the main trails. So I don't know if that's going to...
Question.
Sure, go ahead.
Would it be advantageous possibly to have either Mike or Matt go out and show where the trails are and show where the trails lead to?
We did try to do that, and it just really never
Yeah, it was kind of...
worked.
Yeah, it was
That
kind
would
of...
be an efficient use of time?
And another thing is we were hoping to have a lot more non-motorized patrol. It doesn't seem like there's much interest from your staff to do that.
Well, no, I think that we could get out there and ride. I think for us, the four-wheeler was the easiest thing because you get more bang for your buck. You cover more ground in less time. And run into those situations where if we bump into somebody on a dirt bike or a four-wheeler and they take off on us and I'm on a mountain bike or I'm on foot, it makes it that much more difficult to track these people down. And, it's not that we're going to be getting on pursuits and with a four-wheeler in the woods, but I just find it's easier to make contact with these people if you're on a wheeled vehicle than on two wheels or walking. You have a tendency to more inclined to take off on you instead of stopping so you can identify them. But if they're out there now and we've got tracks leading to people's homes or backyards or what have you, I mean, we may not even need to get out there. If we find out where these tracks are leading or whatever, we can just drive directly to the residence and have a chat with these people. That's also another option, so.
It's unusual this winter. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Do we have good enough tracks to actually lead to someone's backyard?
Yes.
Okay.
That's great.
If there's any question.
Yeah, that's good. If they're watching, guess what? All right.
I think that you should get a badge and they should just...
No.
No, I'm just kidding.
No. These
Just kidding.
folks are trained and they
Yeah,
know
no,
what
I'm
they're doing,
kidding.
okay?
I'm
We
kidding.
do not do that.
I'm kidding.
Personally, I would be all for that type of an approach, because otherwise, I mean, and no offense, because I think you just being out there sends a message to people. Guess what? The police are being here. They're out here on a regular basis, but they're going to figure out when you're out there, and they've got that down, and then they're not going to be out. And some of the two-wheel motorized use, you're not going to be able to access those trails on a four-wheeler, so you're not going to catch that. So if there's tracks and it's really obvious, I personally would be all for sharing that information with the police department and letting them drive a cruiser up to the front door and just say, hello, this, not supposed to be doing
I'll
this.
share some addresses with you then via email.
Yeah. Yeah, because I honestly, I had no idea that was going on. But if that is an issue, then I mean that's what we're getting paid for, and we have no problem following up on that type of thing. That's not an issue at all.
Yeah, it's an education, and we want to educate folks.
Absolutely.
And the other part of it is if they really want to use the property, then ask them to participate with what we're doing and figuring out what's the right places to be and be part of the solution.
Yeah.
So, because we certainly could use the help, especially now that we've got another 100 acres.
Right.
We've just recently purchased, and we're negotiating another 100 acres right now.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the shooting too. We accessed that property at the top. Well, we used to be the foundation's property that you folks now own. So. Went up there a few times real quick just to see what, if anything, was up there, if anybody was shooting. And, there's always debris up there, but it's always hard to tell just how fresh it is. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's not so easy. I can tell you, going back to what you had mentioned, the people that we did have contact with were appreciative that we were out there, and some of them even mentioned just the fact that us being out there that they felt was a deterrent. So.
Yeah.
If there were those people that were inclined to be riding around out there, maybe they were a little less inclined because they knew we were out there on weekends doing this. So,
I will say this summer, it was a dry summer, so finding somebody doing something, finding a track of somebody doing something that or being somewhere where they're not authorized was a little bit more difficult. But I will say I think the use out there, the unauthorized use, dropped significantly this summer, but this winter it's picked right back up.
okay. All right. That's something we can do.
I agree.
Can I ask one more question?
Yeah.
Speaking of the shooting, I don't want to jump ahead on the agenda, but I shared a proposed ordinance that we're going to be proposing the Conservation Commission with Chief Doyle, and he said that he would send it to you. I don't know if you've had a chance to take a look at it or not.
I have.
Okay, I didn't know if you had any suggestions, concerns. if-
I didn't get a chance to share your email that you sent me
Okay.
today. Okay.
Oh, okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah, I'm going to, I did speak with the chief about it. and at this point, he asked that I kind of hold back any comment that we might have. He just wants to have a little bit more time to look at it and digest it and figure out what, if any, impact it's going to have on the town, the PD, specifically from an enforcement perspective. But he does have it, and he is going to look at it, but he's asked me to kind of refrain from making any comment on it right now.
All right, so the folks that, we'll get back to, you know, what we should continue with or not continue with. But I was curious, you mentioned just a moment ago some of the reactions you got from people. Were they generally then positive reactions?
Absolutely. Yeah. All of them were positive. A lot of people were surprised to see us out there, happy to see us out there. Again, that some of them felt that, or some of them were aware of the problems, and felt that us being out there was a good thing. So it was all positive interaction that we had with everybody.
Okay.
I even received a couple of comments of people I ran into who just said that they met a police patrol and they were glad to see you guys out there.
Yeah. I mean, the hour and a half I was out there, the only person I bumped into was the groundskeeper for the middle school. So I had a chance to talk with him because he was up there on a fairly frequent basis mowing the fields.
Yeah.
And he had seen some kids riding bikes and some people walking dogs earlier in the day that I was out there, but that was it. So, and I had asked about dirt bikes and so forth, and he hadn't seen anything in a while. So,
Okay.
but yeah, no, it's been all very positive. So,
Good. All right. Right. So how do we want to proceed? So number one, you're going to share, interesting information that you have right now. Is there more activities we want to do with them, more official patrols we want to do?
Now that the snow is gone and the mud's starting to appear, they're out there now.
Right, but you don't want them going out on the four-wheelers right now during mud season, even the
Yeah.
police, right?
That's true.
That's the tough part. How
Um,
since we bought the shooting area, this week I was out there yesterday, and there's just right in the road. There's like 25 boxes of shells, shotgun shells, and just spent casing, just all over the road. They're shooting from the road.
Yeah.
Like
yeah.
car stops, they take 2 steps out of the car and just
Right. Yeah, we haven't, not to say that it's not going on, we haven't, that I know of, handled any shooting complaints up there recently. Like I said, some people might have just thrown in the towel and they just don't call anymore.
Yeah.
I know that we've talked to the neighbors at the bottom of the hill, the access road, and we've mentioned to them, one gentleman I think is retired, we talked with him and said, listen, you see anybody driving up and down the road, don't hesitate to give us a phone call, because a lot of times they're going up the hill to shoot. And we haven't had those complaints come in, but, I don't know how accessible is the road right now as far as the
Very.
one leading, it is.
Yeah, there was
So
a-
it's not so muddy that they can drive from Wilson Hill all the way up to the top of the hill, no problems?
no problem.
Well, the end by Wilson Hill has all been redone.
Okay.
So that whole section, I don't know if you've been on that lately, but there was a project done
You
to
could get the
support
cruiser
the
to
neighbor.
the shooting pit right now.
Really?
Yeah.
No problems?
No problem. You got a car. Not a.
So they
SUV,
redid the
car.
entire road all the way up to the top?
No.
No, they just did the first 100 yards in.
Okay.
300 feet.
Yeah, that wasn't so bad. It was when you start up getting by the power lines,
It's all
where it
frozen.
starts getting all rutted and stuff.
All the puddles are frozen.
Yeah. Still frozen even now with all the weather we've had?
It was yesterday.
Really? Okay. Yeah, we can, it's really, we're here for you folks. It's what you want to do. I've got the numbers, I presented them, but if you're seeing problems or the problems are still out there, then we're more than happy to do what we can.
Okay. All right. So, what would be your suggestion for that shooting range area right now? What should we do besides patrols? Should we be doing postings? Should we be doing? And what do you think would be effective?
Well, signage always helps us because it helps from an enforcement perspective. Because what's going to happen is when you don't have any signs, you're going to get the people that are going to tell you they didn't know that they weren't allowed up there.
Yeah.
That's what we hear a lot of. And that's the story. Whether or not it's true, that's the story we get. But signage obviously allows us the ability to enforce from a trespassing perspective. We can do something about that. But I know signs, especially the ones that were posted up there. Matter of fact, the ones that were up there that I had suggested the foundation post were riddled with bird shot and whatever else, and were torn down, the ones that they could reach. So that, unfortunately, is what happens to signs.
Right.
But signage, we have to have that from an enforcement perspective. It helps us.
Okay.
Unless we've had prior contact with somebody, we've warned them and told them to stay off the property, and we bump into them again and find out that, a month or 2 weeks prior, we bumped into them and were in warning, then we have something we can sink our teeth into. Signage or not, we could, at least we could summons them or pick whatever enforcement action we deem appropriate. But signage is huge. So, yeah, that would be a big thing right now, especially if, now that you're the new property owners.
Right. Okay. Wildlife camera?
Can't hurt. You can see what's going on out there. Especially when you find out, it's just like if you're a hunter, it's the same type of thing. You'll find out when they're out there, what time, what day of the week. So that's definitely an option you have.
Okay. Yeah, well, it might be a good use for my new camera.
It wouldn't hurt.
All right. So back to patrols. Do you want to take it up at our next meeting and have a chance to think about it? What's the thought?
Personally, if they're physically capable of getting a cruiser up to that shooting place, I'd like them to do that now.
Yeah,
I don't want to wait.
Mhm.
I don't support, even if it's police department, on ATVs on Greater Woods during mud season. I
right.
just can't do that. So if they wanted to walk you can't even mountain bike. Even walking sometimes is going to be.
We asked people to stay off the trails.
Yeah, so that will be an issue. So I think possibly the best we could hope for right now is for Matt to share some addresses. And hopefully that just receiving information or a visit from the police department will be enough to make them think twice about that. I mean, mud season and ATVs, just the whole thing just makes me crazy anyway. But when it isn't mud season, there are acceptable trails for the four-wheelers to be on, and there's no reason for them not to stay on those trails. They're out there, they have access to them. There is just no reason at all for them to be on anything other than the authorized trails. But I think we'll have to wait and see again. In the summertime, maybe they'll assume that we're going to have patrols again in the summer, and they'll stay off. I don't know, because I think from what wasn't able to hike this summer, but from what you guys have told me, it dropped dramatically, the unauthorized
Did
use.
this summer. Yeah.
But those two things, the shooting area and knocking on doors, I'm in support of right now.
Yeah, I mean, when I went in on Saturday over there, I parked up in the Amherst lot, and there were 3 trucks in the lot with ramps off the back. So these were people and when I got back, they happened to be loading up. And I got, talking to them, I was like, oh, this thing's awesome, great. And they were from Nashua. So we now have the first time that I've heard of people trailering in stuff.
To go riding, huh?
Go riding.
Yeah.
Where was this?
In the Amherst Road parking lot.
Oh, so for
Greater
Horse
Road?
Hill.
No.
No.
Sorry, you said it wrong.
It's the town of Amherst, it's Greater
Amherst-
Road.
Oh, the town of it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Greater
Greater
Road
Road
parking lot.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Sorry.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Which is right on the Merrimack border. It's right
Gotcha.
there.
Okay.
and they were looking for, they said they were out scouting for where to put their tree stands for next season, for next hunting season.
So that's why that gate's going to be great
Yeah.
when we get it.
As a
Yeah.
side note, we're also looking to declassify part of South Greater Road and gate it where we own.
That would help.
Shut it all down. At least shut down the real four-wheelers.
Yeah.
So. But again, though, I mean, with all this new property that we're acquiring, what we'd like to see is some of those folks come out and participate in our process and help us designate the right trails and create the right trails, and that way we all can live together with this. And that was the intent of having all this property. So if you run into folks, or maybe you're part of a an ATV club outside of town or whatever. I don't know. You know, any of your officers and stuff like that.
There's a bunch of us that ride,
Yeah, okay.
but I got to be honest, most of us don't ride around here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, yeah.
We don't, you know. But yeah, I'm sure there's some people that would like to take advantage of whatever land is going to be available for them to ride out there.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of folks in town that would like to be able to ride. But, you know, I think that some of the problem here, too, and I think we've discussed this before, some of these people that are riding in these areas that are now kind of off limits are people that have been in town for a while, and that was their piece to ride on, and,
Yeah.
you know, they feel like they're entitled to ride out there, and that's also part of the problem. But it's on us, especially if we've got tracks leading to houses right now. I'd be more than happy to go knock on some doors and talk with some people and work on that education piece of it. And
Right.
that's not an issue at all. We can do that.
The biggest thing we have out there right now, or well, in many ways, the biggest thing we have out there now, it's just one person, and they're on a side by side. So those
Yeah.
things can go anywhere, and
Yes, I can.
A side
I
by
couldn't.
side.
Yeah.
Two-person.
Oh, oh, right. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Right.
Golf
Okay.
cart.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the new craze now.
Yeah.
And I couldn't catch them.
Yeah, don't. Yeah, that's what we always tell people. Try not to. You never know who you're interacting with.
Right.
Because I can tell you the shooting range, you talk about word of mouth. The shooting range, we had people from Massachusetts coming up here. And that was all word of mouth. That's, you know.
Yeah.
The few people that I have had contact with there, none of them were Merrimack residents. They're all from out of town. So,
Did you find out where they learned about it?
they don't usually share that. They're just a friend of a friend.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, there are some interesting websites. You can learn about anything you want. Okay. It's a very active community. Okay. I have poked. So. Yep. Well, people take
Well-
their Second Amendment rights very seriously, and they have very active websites. So, it happens. And
Yeah.
and again, we're not trying to stop their rights to possess weapons and
No,
all
but
that.
they're
It's,
shooting signs 12 feet in the tree.
Oh, exactly.
With a trail behind it.
right. Right. So you know those rounds are going somewhere. And I mean, if you go out there, you're going to see some of the trees have been so riddled that the next time we have a big windstorm, they come down and you can see the metal inside the tree
Yeah.
because they've hit it so off so many times. So,
Yeah.
so
No, it's definitely a problem.
Yeah.
It's definitely unsafe. You see where some of these targets are set up, like you said, with the direction
Right.
of shooting in.
right.
It's an issue.
Yeah.
But I think now that you folks own that piece, if you can work on posting, work on gates, I think that'll start to help the problem.
Right.
And then we'll do whatever we can do.
Yeah.
Like I said, the nice thing about these patrols and what these patrols allow us to do is to patrol uninterrupted for a 4-hour block. You know, when we try and do these things while we're in a regular patrol capacity, it's tough because we're basically asking a guy who's patrolling a sector of town to dedicate so much time. And what happens is, depending on call volume, he can start to look into something, and then, and the next thing you know, he's got to go off for an accident or a domestic-related call or what have you. The detail was great because you didn't have to worry about that. You could just be out there and you just do your thing. So,
All right. Well, I'd like us to get back to doing the details, but certainly not during mud season because that just sends the wrong message. So that's so contrary to what we're trying to do. So I think we have to live with the situation based on that. So, but yeah, if you could follow up with Matt,
yeah, I will.
And,
No, that sounds good.
and,
That's a place to
and-
start.
and we'll work on trying to post our property. I think that's reasonable. And that way we can be good partners in this. So,
Okay.
right?
Sounds good.
Great. Thank you for your time.
Hey, no problem. Thank you.
And thanks for what you did. It made results out there, for sure.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear. So hopefully we can keep going in that direction.
Right.
All right.
Good.
Good night. Thank
Yep.
you.
Thank you.
All right, so next on our agenda is the target shooting ordinance. So what you have in your packets is the amended or updated version based on our last discussion. Just wanted to give everyone one more chance to take a look at it, see if there's anything else they wanted to do with it, or are you happy with it? Okay,
Yeah, I think that was fine.
all right. So then, next would be the process. Where we want to go from here. Matt's comment took me a little bit by surprise, that the chief hadn't had a chance or wasn't done doing his review, which is fine. I mean, we want to do this right. So I'm not sure what's going to come out of that review. But it'd be good to, since we're impacting town, commission, and school district property, that we visit with the school district. But I'd like to visit with them with what we think is close to the final.
Oh, yeah, and that was going to be my question. Well, and it was after you left the town council meeting is when I thought to ask, has anyone forwarded this new copy on to the police department? So I took it upon myself to forward it. I CC'd you, right?
Yeah,
I
you
usually
did.
always
Yeah.
CC you. To Chief Doyle for his review, because they are going to be the ones enforcing it. So, yeah, I was surprised too, because I hadn't heard anything back.
Yeah.
At all, so I didn't know. Do you want to wait for that? I don't know how long we'll be waiting before we try to visit with the school district, or do you want to go with?
So what I was thinking is, number one, does everyone here think it's appropriate that we visit with the school district before we try to get this enacted?
I think we'd have to. We're calling them out as part of the, we have their properties on the list where
Yeah.
this is going to affect them.
Okay, all right, just want to be sure.
Well, I
That's
think
all.
we have to.
Okay, so how about we ask if we can get put on a March agenda? With the expectation that we'll have what we need by March? Probably after our first, well, see, they meet the same nights we do, so we'll have to recess and go visit with them, as we've done in the past. So,
No, I think that's a good
I
idea.
don't think there's anything stopping us.
And if something were to change after that meeting, I hate to push it off through elections and then new boards, and I would just rather act on it prior to.
right,
But if something were to change, it's not like we couldn't email them the revised version after we've had a general discussion. It's not like we couldn't do anything about it after we've met with them. So I think March, we're already into February, so I think March would be a good idea.
okay. All right, yeah, 'cause the only thing in March is the deliberative session, right? By then, budget's all been squared away, all that stuff, so.
Yes. My
Wow.
other question is too, because then we have to bring this to the town council as well. I have the same feelings about not wanting to wait until after elections for the town council, but we really have to have the final product to go before them because they're going to vote on it.
Yeah, and there has to be a public hearing on what we think is the final product. Now, it can change at the public hearing, but
Right. So do you think tentatively asking for a March date from them too, and that could always be changed, but just to get it on the calendar now?
yeah, I do.
Is there anything stopping us from giving this to them and soliciting their input? It just doesn't have to be a conversation. We can still go up there and present it at some point in time, but there's nothing stopping us from getting their input.
You're talking about the school board.
The school board of town council, take your pick, vote.
So what we
We
would,
sent them, formally sent them, look, here's something we're proposing, we'd
Take a
like
look
your
at it.
input, and we'll be coming in March to present what, incorporate all comments and be presenting it to you in March as a potential final product.
so what we could expect from the school board is comments from individual members,
Right.
but not likely comments from the board itself.
Right,
Okay, so they won't act as a body,
right, and they wouldn't
Likely.
discuss it yet, they would be,
right?
That's
Yeah.
that's how we've that's how we've managed some of our documents, we've sent it out prior, and
Yeah.
by the time you come here, you've got your comments, you've got.
Well, you would do that to be on their agenda anyway, if you wanted
Right, but I don't
to.
want them to be on the agenda and have that being the first time they see this. I'd like to be able to sit down and go, okay, let's get right
Yeah.
into it.
Yeah, I mean, we could send it today.
point.
Yeah, we could. And we could send it out to both bodies and make our request,
Right.
attach it, and then just indicate that we are still awaiting feedback from the police department. Just make sure they know that.
And if individually they have feedback, send it. You can see where we can incorporate incorporate, because if, 3 people have the same comment, great. And we'll, we can fit it in and address it all at once.
Yep, works for me.
Mm-hmm. No, it's a good idea.
Yeah.
All right, sound like a plan? All right, so I'll do that. I'll get it off to both bodies. Has to be part of their March agenda item. And we'll work it. But I agree with you. I like to deal with the bodies we have now instead of having the turnover in April, which will just delay things. Right? I'd like to get it on the books, start educating the public that it's out there. So, okay. Anything else on this agenda item? All right, so that next takes us to the Ned pipeline. But before we do that, we have some folks here that are here for another agenda item. Do we want to take up the first order under new business since the rest of our items don't take up?
Yeah.
Okay. I just figured while we had a roll going with those two. So why don't we do that? Why don't we take up Scott's request? Scott, you have anyone here that you want to join with you?
Nope, just me.
Okay. All right. So Scott, I'm going to ask you to sign my little thing there. So before you get started, what I want to do is kind of frame the conversation a little bit. But that doesn't mean you're more than free to say anything you want, okay? But so by framing it, what I'd like to do is kind of have an understanding of what we think our role here is when it comes to this activity. So the Wasserman Conservation Area is the property where Scott is proposing to tap maple trees. It's a parcel that we manage as a commission, but we don't own it as the commission. It was purchased by the town from the Wassermans back in the 1990 or very early 90s. It was actually purchased with the parcel, not the park side, but the other side was purchased with LSIP money, which is money that comes from the state, which came along with it some strings, covenants and restrictions as to what you could do with it. And those covenants and restrictions augment the restrictions that the Wassermans placed on the property as part of the land sale. So our role is management body. I mean, we've been managing the parcel much more actively in the last couple of years than we have in years past. But at the end of the day, we would only be providing a recommendation to the owners of the parcel, which is the town and the town council. So there'd be another step involved here. So whether our recommendation was in favor or not, you still have it's a whole new ballgame with the final owners at some point. So that's kind of how I wanted to frame this, so you understood our role here.
Yeah, so I mean, just some background. I started with Parks and Rec.
Is it bright green?
I think it is on. Oh, okay. It was green. It looks green.
Yeah, it does.
So
yeah.
I started this process with Parks and Rec. That's where I thought I needed to, because I've been a coach down at Wasserman Park for years now. So I've been involved down there, so I thought they would be the ones managing that. They directed me to the town council. I think you might have some handouts that I sent. I didn't bring anything with me. I came right from work. Right.
Yeah.
And so I started the process with them. They directed me to Tim and your group, and now we're just here. I know we had some issues with the covenants and talking to the town lawyer and things of that nature, which Tim and I have been discussing over email. And I think some of that stuff's been cleared up, but I'm just here now to try to answer your questions and to see how this is going to go forward.
Yeah. So I forwarded all of you, did you get it to you as well? Information about what what Scott provided, as well as what the attorney had provided for information. Basically, the town's council, the other way of spelling council, SEL, had said that there was nothing in the covenants that precluded that said you couldn't do this. There was nothing that said no tapping of maple trees. But yet there are general covenants that make the decision not as clean or as easy. So.
Having lived here for 23 years, thank you for this, because I learned so much about that property that I did not know, and it was fascinating, and I did a lot of Googling and researching about the family, and I mean, that wasn't that long before I moved here, and I didn't know the backstory to the property, so that was interesting to me. Thank you.
All right. Do you want to describe what it is you're planning on doing? That-
That's what I was just going to ask, if anybody wanted me to talk about the process. So basically, I started doing sugaring, I guess, about 4 years ago now. I started small with just a turkey fryer in the driveway and the trees in my backyard. And as I've been doing it, more and more people are like, oh, you make maple syrup. Can you make me some? Can I get some? Can I get some? So my struggle has been, I have a little bit of OCD that I can never do anything small. I have to keep growing. And so I was trying to find more and more trees. I've acquired some other spots in town just through neighbors and friends and people through sports that I've got a decent amount of trees now, but I've also built a big evaporator now. I've got my own little shack in the backyard, all that type of stuff. So I'm able to take on more, and I'm kind of seeing just how much I can do. I think at this point I want to try, if I was to get approval, just for one season, just to see if the volume is even there, worth me, one, putting the time in because you have to collect the sap daily and boil it pretty much every other day, things of that nature. Just to see if it's really even feasible for me to do it, or if it's just too much that I'm going to burn myself out. So it's really just almost an experiment at this point to see how far I'm going to go with it. So.
And you're not proposing to run lines or nothing like that?
No, there'll be no lines. I'm going to either use buckets or the sacks that are in the pictures. I have plenty of buckets and the sacks. The sacks are just easier because at the end of the season, if I can either dispose of them, and it's much easier to clean up, and it's just a neater process. The buckets are heavy and they take up a lot of room, but I have 50-plus buckets that I could easily put out there as well. So it'll look more traditional if you want to look from like the New England sense of tapping maple trees. If you've seen around town, there's other guys that I know that are tapping with the blue bags that they hang on the trees. And some people are like, oh, well, that's kind of neat. And others are like, oh, it's kind of an eyesore. But I'm fine with using buckets or the bags. But there will be no lines. I'm not running any tubing system or anything like that.
Okay. And what are you doing with the syrup? Are you selling it? Are you?
Well, I've been asked to sell some. I gave a lot away. Again, based on the volume now, I'm also having to buy a lot of firewood to burn all of this. So I'm not looking to make any money. If I can break even, I'm happy. If I don't, it's kind of the risk I've taken with taking on this hobby, just like any other hobby. I'm not looking to make any money on it.
Do you have an idea how many trees you're going to try to tap in this size parcel? I mean, what?
It's probably about I'm guessing it's about a half-acre plot that's right there. There's got to be 50, 60 trees in there. Some of them are 3-4 feet in diameter. There's some big trees. So I've done a lot of research through UVA up in Vermont and the Proctor Research Place. They will accept trees about that size can take 4 or 5 taps. I'm probably going to put 2 or 3 most on any of the largest trees, just because I don't really have the material anyway, equipment-wise, to do more than that. But the most taps I'll put in there is 50. That's the amount of equipment I put to the side that I could use for it.
Yeah, because one of the things that I did when I saw this was I went on and I found a website that's a Cornell website.
Yeah.
And they said the max you should go is 3, and that would be for a
3-foot diameter tree. Or
yeah,
something.
25 inches in diameter.
Yeah.
So.
But again, if you're not familiar with the process, the season's basically about a month from now, but it started, people are already doing it because of the crazy weather we're having now. So, I mean, I may already miss my window if we don't really get back to the cold, which is fine. And maybe it's next year that we do this. But it's still just an opportunity to present this and see where we can go with it.
How are we supposed to handle it? And I have no, obviously, you're making a product and selling it, just makes sense. But how are we supposed to handle someone using town property for sale?
Right, there are concerns.
So,
I mean, because that's granted, that's the only person that's ever asked us to do it, so it's something new. But it's like,
so
I suppose it's no difference than hunting on town property and selling the pelts and stuff. So I mean, there's some.
So luckily, we don't have to make that policy. That's not our job. Okay, so let's not try and set that policy.
Yeah, I mean,
okay?
I'm not opening a store up.
No, I
yeah,
understand.
yeah,
I'm just saying it's just a.
Well, it's a neat enterprise, but
It's
it opens up a door that we don't know
It
if we
does,
want to
and
open.
it sets a precedent, and it's difficult because I think maple syrup and tapping maple trees is very New England and very New Hampshire, and somebody who wants to have a small operation, I would normally love to support somebody like that, but I also think you're setting precedent, and then you could have unintended consequences down the road, people coming and wanting to do things, and it's a tough issue. You don't want to tell people no, but at the same time, you don't know what you're opening the door to.
My biggest concern, could go just to follow up on that,
Yeah.
people not asking. We're lucky enough we've had someone, oh, this is what I'm going to do. Someone sees it, oh, hey, we can tap trees on here. No problem, great, awesome.
Yeah, and then we
Right.
get,
I've seen that over
Right.
at Reed's Ferry. If you look at the softball fields there's a bunch of maples right behind the softball fields, and we showed up one day for practice, and there's milk jugs hanging off at every tree. And I'm like, I know they didn't ask the school to do that. You know, they just showed up and did it.
Yeah, yeah. But the protective covenants, there is nothing in there that says you can't do something like this, and it isn't black and white. And I feel badly that you got bounced back and forth too, but that just goes to show you how long ago something like this happens, and people aren't really sure who owns what and who manages what. So I apologize that you got bounced around. And
I'd rather do it the
and
right
while
way
you're
anyway.
being very good-natured about that, and we all appreciate that, but to me, it's conservation, it's wildlife, it's to leave it in its natural state, and I'm just not sure. I'm not saying that you're damaging trees or hurting trees, but I'm just not sure that this, and it's open to interpretation, everybody's opinion, that this is synonymous with or supports what the intent was for the use of this land. I personally think that it conflicts a little bit with it, so.
I'm kind of the same opinion. When I read the language, and I try to discern what the intent was by the owners when they did this. The words preserve come out in a number of places. Natural state comes out in a number of places. And the impression I got was they're very specific about the uses that they did want to allow. But then everything else is, preserve in natural state. So where they were very specific about things they were allowing, I kind of said, okay, that was the okay part. Everything else is not, and that's kind of. I'm not sure you can draw a better line because it gets too fuzzy if you don't. So that's my own personal opinion on this. The idea of precedent and how many people to allow and all that stuff, not our problem.
You keep looking at me and laughing.
Well, because I sat on the council the last time it came up.
Can I?
I read the minutes.
Because I don't have
Yeah.
access to that. What were some of the uses that they did allow? I'm just curious for myself.
So, actually, forestry is one of them. You can have this. I don't have a problem. It's all public information. So, yeah, happy to let you have it. So, trails.
Recreational, passive recreational
Right.
use.
You got it?
No
Okay.
motorized vehicles, no hunting, no
Right. No hunting. No motorized use. No ATVs, snowmobiles.
Right, and
building of any kind, no.
And yeah, right. No building unless. Even talks to signage and how they wanted to limit signage. So.
And I'm assuming the chapel that they're referring to is no longer there.
It is.
Is it
Yeah.
there?
Yeah.
It's not a structure. There's no structure,
Okay.
but it's seating and an altar.
Really? Okay.
It's right by the water.
Yeah, and it's on our property, on the other property where,
Parks and Rec property.
Okay.
yeah. So I know last time the town dealt with it, they actually created a license agreement. Because my other concern would be, is liability. So if you were to be hurt doing your hobby, how does that get managed? The other part is if someone was to potentially be hurt because of you doing your hobby, that would be something that would need to be covered for, and the town would want to cover itself for that. So,
Yeah, I called and talked to Becky about that, and she said that it can be handled, and we'll deal with whatever paperwork we need to, or I have to sign some sort of liability. Just like I think it was you that mentioned the Horse Hill property that request had gone through, but they refused to sign the liability agreement.
yeah, if you want to pass. So that's a copy of the agreement that was drafted by the town's attorney at that time. I don't know if you've got a copy of that or not. So,
there's also a covenant B, no trees, shrubs, or other vegetation on the property shall be cut, removed, or destroyed, except that the declarant may perform such cutting, pruning, mowing, and removal as part of the forestry. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
What was that one? Is that on this?
It's in the,
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah.
Section 3, covenants and restrictions. It's on the second page, B. 3B.
So that's kind of where it's, what I'm thinking, you know. But I'm only one member here, so.
I think it's a great idea, and I applaud you because obviously you must really love maple syrup to go through all of these hoops and red tape.
I love it.
My concern when I was reading it earlier is, as Jody said, a precedent, because if you have, I mean, it's just what is to keep everybody else in town saying, I want to do this, and now all of a sudden we're swamped with people all over the trees and stuff. But, I mean, I think it's a great idea. I think it does open up a can of worms, so.
There are a lot of towns, because I did some research myself, they'll lease out parcels of land from the town to sugarers, or just write agreements. Okay, for 10 years you can do this, but you make sure the grass is cut, you make sure that leaves are raked, things of that nature. So it certainly wouldn't be unique in Merrimack to do something like this. But I know just the part of it having the conservation label attached to it, that's where I'm not as familiar with it. But I just know other towns, they do that, 20,000 taps, they'll let, John Smith down the street do them, as long as he agrees to whatever the stipulations may be.
And maybe when you go to the town council, they would be able to work with you on that. And that would be great, because, I mean, I'd love to see you be able to. I am a huge hobby person, so I totally, feel your frustration. I just, I'm looking at this giant can of worms, and I'm thinking, wow.
Yes. So have you researched any other parcels of the town? I know this one's convenient. It's got parking. It's by the road. You don't really have to hike in very far.
I haven't at all. I saw that. Again, I've been using that park for 10 plus years now, and as I got into this, I'm like, that'd be a nice place to do it. And they're all right there, very close, easy parking, like you said. Even if I'm picking up the buckets, I'm out of the way of everybody. It wouldn't be interfering with traffic or anything of that nature. So that's why I just thought it was a good spot. I'm open to other suggestions if you know of other spots, though.
Well, yeah, if the council was to want to move forward with a use like this, get past the precedence questions or a lottery for if there was a lot of people or whatever they wanted to do, then, I mean, we can certainly look at all our parcels and make a suggestion. One that doesn't come with the lineage that this parcel does. So, but that's if the council asked us to do that for you, I'm sure we would do that. Because the other part of this that I liked about what you said was that you were willing to educate and show folks. So that's something that was put into the other agreement that didn't happen. So I think that's a great thing. I mean, you're willing to give something back to your community for the opportunity to do this.
Yeah, I think it's neat. Like I said, I built a little sugar shack in my backyard. I built a brand new evaporator. New Hampshire has Maple Weekend, and I forget the exact dates. But my plan was to open it up anyway to anybody who wanted to come and see how I do it. And I said I wanted to give something back to the Boy Scouts or whatever, and they could raffle it off and make some money for the use of the land. Just trying to give back. I'm not doing it to profit. I'm doing it just because really volume is what I want, as opposed to volume of sap, as opposed to making money on this.
What's more quaint New Hampshire than maple syruping, right?
Exactly. I boiled all week, and it smelled great in my backyard. So,
is there anyone in the audience that wanted to speak on this? I'm not sure why you folks are here, but I wanted to give you a chance in case you wanted to. So, okay. All right. All right, so how do you want to proceed? It's appropriate and necessary, I believe, for us to provide a recommendation to the town council. So,
Yeah, I can't recommend it on this property.
because?
Well, because of the ordinances and the, it's setting a precedent. It's not something I think that we should be handling anyway. It should be.
Nice, Mike. Really nice.
Just remember, you volunteered in,
Yeah,
in running for
exactly.
election for that spot.
I'm going to go ask for a different committee assignment. You watch. I think the language. I think the language in the sale of the property and the money that we receive from LSIP. I think it would prevent us from recommending this project. So I'm not in support of it because I think it goes against the intent that the land purchase was made with. And and again, it's just my opinion, and I'm not, certainly not an attorney. I think the intentions of the family when they sold this land in memory of their daughter, I don't think it's something that they would have wanted. I don't think it was their intentions.
Okay.
Is that the consensus of the commission?
It's a tough one. It's a tough
I
one.
can't recommend this particular parcel, but I mean, I think it would be fabulous if the town had places that people
Yeah.
could lease for a nominal amount and tap the trees, because I do think it's a great idea to have the trees tapped. I mean, everything, I spent about an hour Googling around, and, it doesn't, if you do it properly, it's not going to hurt the trees. They will recover from it. But absolutely, I mean, what if,
There'll be more damage from a snowstorm when branches get broken.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, I think the
It's a
town
neat
could make a
activity.
little bit of extra money, and people could have this nice little hobby. And
Don't say
no,
that.
no, okay, never mind.
So then, would you would the commission be willing to help locate an alternate parcel if the council wanted to move forward with something like this?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
At least I'm open. I found that one
Right, that
lot
was-
and it was perfect. So.
Mm.
Is that
Until we found this.
Right. The evaporators looks pretty substantial. It's not mobile at all, is it?
No.
And you said
You're a pretty big guy. You might be able to help me carry it.
well, you said you built a new one, so the old one is.
Believe it or not, I took the old one and basically scrapped it, but I designed it based on the old one. And just double check make sure your mic's on. Sorry about that. And yeah, I mean, a friend of mine that was a welder, I basically drew it all out and we built it together.
No, I'm just thinking, if we can find another spot and in time, that would be.
No. Way it works anyway is no matter where my location is, I'd be picking up and bringing to my location to boil there. I mean, that's the way all sugar houses do it. You pick up or you pipe it all in. And so, yeah, it's not a mobile operation because you have to move the firewood too.
Right.
So.
so? Are we good with that?
Yes.
Issues with this parcel, but we would help to locate a potential other parcel that didn't come with these kinds of covenants.
Great.
I'd appreciate that.
Okay.
Great.
All right. Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks for reaching out to us.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maple syrup.
Okay. So let's get back to old business, the Ned pipeline. So where we, yeah, sorry, I need to get organized again. I moved. I bumped my agenda on. So. Nope. Sorry, Tim's disorganized for a moment. All right. Okay. That's okay. Oh, I got it. I knew I covered it up somewhere. So, a little warm in here? Yeah, I think so too. Oh, jeez. Wow.
Open a window.
Maybe when it's 10 degrees out, you need to set it that way, but I'm not sure that really helps anyway, so. Okay, so back to the Ned pipeline. First item was law firm to represent the commission. Have you all had a chance to see what Cindy has provided us for information about the attorney that she was looking into? Thoughts, comments?
She's got a pretty telling website. It's something that she's been involved in for a while, so if she's willing to represent us, then I guess we'll
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
Vast legal experience.
And unfortunately, anyone who's experienced with this type of work is taken and has a conflict. But I still believe that this commission, once we get further into the process and that one particular piece of land that we need to defend, I think this commission is going to need an attorney. And I'm just hoping, I don't know if any of you caught, I can't remember now which meeting it was, got 2 meetings a week. Tim, you remember those days during budget season? I can't remember which meeting it was, but we did go over how much the town has spent in conjunction with the Conservation Commission, and it's quite a bit of money, and I'm just hoping that these efforts don't require both bodies to continue spending an awful lot of money, but, and I'm talking, I think combined we're up $68,000, $70,000 for a town our size. But I'm not confident that we won't be spending the money, but I really believe that having an attorney that, and I heard about her when I first started getting involved with this whole project, so she's, renowned. People know who she is. But I really think we are going to need legal services and representation at some point. So I personally am supportive of it, and Cindy did an incredible amount of work and spent a lot of time researching that, and I'm give her my gratitude for that.
Yeah. My concern with this attorney is the fact that she's in D.C., and we're going to need someone local as well to do local pieces, potentially.
I got the impression that she's willing to work through a local
Right.
advocate
Right.
on our behalf.
Yes.
So wouldn't that fall to her responsibility to generate that lead?
I hope so. I certainly wouldn't want to assume it, so.
Right, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
So, I mean, if we need her to do something local, then that would be her
Yeah.
figuring out someone local that will be her, her voice and
I assume being in D.C., she's done this before. She's had,
this is a
that type
big
of
part what-
situation.
you go read her website. This is a big part of what her whole focus is.
All right.
And part of the reason we're looking at her is because there isn't anybody locally.
Isn't the town's attorney from Portland, Maine? Or is she more local? I don't know why I thought she was from Portland, Maine.
Portsmouth.
Portsmouth.
Oh, Portsmouth? Okay.
She's from Maine. No. Well, she works out of the Portsmouth office, but Maine is her home state. Yeah, my biggest concern is the local advocate, or a person who would handle the local issues, and understanding what that really means, where our responsibility lies with that. Because as you said, people have conflicts. Everyone's tied up. And I'd hate to be at the 11th hour and go, well, darn, there is nobody. So I was contemplating, and I'm going to bring it up for discussion, is when it comes to this one particular parcel we have, should we be reaching out to the town council and saying, okay, when it comes to this one parcel, can we use your attorney? In conjunction with our attorney to handle the issues that we might have. Because our issues are going to be around eminent domain, and assuming that we lose, then it's going to be around an appropriate easement, as well as a survey agreement, because they're going to want to, once they have eminent domain, they also get survey access, or potentially have survey access. So
That would be definitely a safe route to go. I mean, to have that extra help and protection of the town attorney.
thoughts?
Well, I guess that's my question. Would we be dealing with the town attorney as the town attorney, or would we be dealing with the town attorney as the advocate for
Well, that's
who we hired?
right. So that's the issue. If we involve the town attorney should be looking out for our interests on the parcel.
Exactly, but so I would think that, because the whole reason we're not using the town attorney now is because we may potentially have some conflict with the town, and their
Right.
decision that they want to go, and our decision may not be the same.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have the DC lawyer under contract,
Mm-hmm.
their advocate, I would think, would only be working on our behalf.
Mhm.
And could then delineate, say, okay, I'm also now, tomorrow I'm gonna go do something for the town. It could be something completely against what we want, but, I mean,
She made it pretty clear that she could only serve.
Yeah, one master.
Mhm.
Oh, yeah.
Is the
I mean,
town- the
well, that's
town
what I'm saying. I
attorney?
mean, that's what I'm saying, if we.
I mean, I like your creative way of thinking, Tim Tenhave. It's not something I had considered, and I'd have to really think it through. But I don't know that it could work. I don't know.
Right.
I mean, if this attorney in DC were to, and I have no idea how this advocate situation would work. Possibly it wouldn't even have to be an actual attorney that could be an advocate. I don't know enough about it.
Yeah.
Has Cindy or anyone had a conversation with her, or is this the first that's being discussed here about the local advocate part?
I'm assuming this is the first time it's being
Okay.
discussed.
We don't know who this advocate would be.
No. So essentially we need to learn a little more.
And have a conversation with her about those types of concerns, I think,
Okay.
before we make any decisions.
So here's another thought I had was, would it be appropriate to have a non-meeting between us and her? A non-meeting being a meeting with an attorney, and have a discussion to talk these things out.
I think simply for our own edification,
Right.
would just be helpful.
Okay. To try and create set up a meeting outside of our normal meeting schedule to have a discussion with us and her. We could do it over the phone, so it doesn't have to be in person, and just ask our questions away.
With the attorney from DC?
Absolutely, yeah. So, that sound like a workable plan? That way,
Very much so.
all right. You can all let me know what your schedules look like over the next 3 weeks. You don't have to tell me now, but send it to me. That way we can try and plan something. All right, or for the month of February. Why don't we just call it the month of February? Let me know what your schedules look like. I know there's school vacation and all kinds of other stuff going on. So send me that, and I'll coordinate with Cindy, and we'll try to put something together.
That's a good idea.
All right, yeah. Kind of figured it might come to this at some point anyway, so let's just get there. So,
Just for, we're gonna try to do roughly the same kind of 6:30 time frame. It's gonna be an evening, probably go a couple hours.
well, it would certainly go an hour, I'm sure. So,
That's just, I'm just saying, just try
so-
to put some boundaries around me, because,
Yeah.
are we trying to block off 4 hours at a time or an hour at a time? That's a big difference to me.
I think we should block between 1 and 2 hours.
Okay.
If it goes more than 2 hours,
Again, but trying to stick for like 6:30 start time-ish?
yeah, I think we should try since,
okay.
yeah. Okay, so one other thing, I need you all to nod your head yes, is that we will pay for these 1 to 2 hours out of Fund 53, no matter what. Okay? Right? Okay. Got it. Okay, just want to make sure.
We can't call it an interview and get it for free.
We can try, but I want to make sure that if it comes down to money, that we just up front, we realize that we're going to have to pay for this legal advice. But that's the intent, right? We might not go anywhere with her, but we might learn a whole lot of stuff. Okay? I mean, that would be optimal no matter what we learn out of this thing. So. Okay.
This is so annoying.
Yep, it's not what the money was meant for when we got it. I guess it was. It was to conserve these properties, so that's what we're doing. So, still annoying. All right, other item, pipeline, update on our mitigation options given to Tennessee Gas. As I think you all saw, we got a response that said, yep, we'll look into it, and that's all I've heard. So we provided our list, and they're going to look into it, and I offered them time at any of our meetings. I told them where they can find our agenda so they can get on one of our meeting agendas.
Check.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Put it on their Excel sheet so they can give it to the state with a list of long lists of things. Look at all these things we've done.
Yeah. But we also didn't spend hours and hours doing engineering like some people think they have to do, because we don't.
No.
You don't?
Well, and you also saw that they were going around to all the different towns, telling them what a great meeting they had with Merrimack, too.
Yeah.
So, So I just basically put a link to the video of our meeting. I was like, if you want to see exactly what was discussed, here you go, watch this.
Yeah. Yeah, I have a DVD of the meeting, too. Okay. All right, anything else with the... Anything else with the Ned pipeline for tonight?
Town council had nothing really this last meeting either. It was just a mad dash to the filing for intervenor status, and now we're at a little bit of a lull.
Okay. So what about the SEC, New Hampshire Site Evaluation Committee? As you saw, I requested to be put on their distribution list. I got a response today that said, yes, we'll put you on the list. I have a feeling that little body in the state is going to be overwhelmed. They have no idea what's coming. Well, they've had to deal with the Northern Pass a little bit, but.
Everybody on that group has a day job.
Yes, I know. Yeah.
I think don't tomorrow they do the House Bill 1101? I think that's the one that they discuss. Is that the eminent domain one?
Yeah.
That's the big one. Whether or not, I think it's whether or not they can take land by eminent domain. But the question is whether or not the pipeline would be grandfathered in because it was proposed before this bill came up. So, but that's a big one for tomorrow.
Also federal versus states' rights. So we could pass locally all the laws we want, and the federal law can usurp it. Unfortunately.
Right. Is there anyone on the commission that wants to be the bird dog for the SEC activities? Postings, just kind of send out information as it comes in?
Cindy.
Is that her penalty for not coming tonight?
She's already doing it.
She's doing FERC,
Yeah.
okay? Which is, I mean, right now it's a little quiet, but she deserves a little quiet too, so.
I can give it a shot if you want me to. This is all the SEC stuff?
Yeah, so when things get posted to the site, to either provide a link or the actual post, prefer the link. That way we can...
Which site are we talking about? One to the SEC site?
SEC site, yeah, for the TGP project, which is like 2008-15 or something is their number.
Okay. And then where did you want the links posted to?
So you just send out an email to the commission, just as and then a quick one sentence that says what the posting is about. Try not to put opinion or anything in it. Just this is what someone posted.
Okay.
Now there is really no activity. They haven't updated it in a long time.
Okay. And you just want SEC, not PUC?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess PUC we should be thinking about too at some point. So. But I'm not sure.
They're somewhat connected, though, aren't they?
Well, members of PUC serve on the Site Evaluation Committee.
Yes.
Just like DES and DOT.
Okay.
So, the other thing I'd like to find when it comes to that is the transcripts for the 3 meetings that Tennessee Gas did. I believe they paid for the transcribers, and I've been trying to find transcripts because it'd be nice to have what was said and also to verify that what the transcript says really matches what people think they said too.
Do you remember approximately when those meetings were?
No, I'd have to go back to the TGP announcement that announced
It
when
was
the
the one
meetings
you
were going
went
to
in
be.
Milford. That was the SEC meeting.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so there was one
And then there were
Win-
2 prior to
right.
that, right, in
There was one in Wyndham, I thought, and then one out west.
Fitzwilliam?
Yes, yeah, something like that.
Oh, okay.
Cheshire,
Okay.
Cheshire
Yeah.
County was-
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, they had to do every county.
The one that Judge Judy there moderated.
She was great.
You were there, so you know.
I was there.
Yeah.
Yes,
She-
I was.
I lost all confidence in her when she made fun of my name.
I like to compare Tim's mad against my mad. It's
I'm Irish and Italian. I've got you
Yeah.
both beat.
and his mad doesn't get anywhere up there, but you know he's mad.
She made fun of my name. I wanted to say, what is your last name, Smith, too? Boy, why can't anyone have a normal last name like Smith?
She was just her whole tenure, everything. And when she told that little story,
her story
she was
was
just
way-
her demeanor, everything. She wasn't professional. She couldn't control the crowd. It was just,
Just be glad she's no longer on the
you know, she's no longer serving. as a
serving on the
judge, you know.
bench. Wow. Okay. I'm past that now. Anything else on the pipeline? All right, so that takes us to item 2 under new business, and that's education opportunities with Parks and Rec Department. And it's all yours, Mike.
So I met with Matt last week, and pretty much he's looking, Parks and Recs is looking for our guidance to run programs on weekends, family-oriented programs that we can suggest to him and help find people to do. And so this can start in the spring, but he doesn't have funding, so we can't suggest anybody to him that the Parks and Recs has to hire until the summer, because he won't have a budget, any kind of money for paying anybody until the summer. But volunteers are welcome. And he's looking for some programs, family-oriented, any topic. He would like to cover geocaching at some point. He thinks that would be fun. But the other things, like, it can be on any of our properties, any topic, any conservation topic, anything that's going to educate the public, those families, on the environment, basically, and get them out into our properties.
Is the building fixed enough yet to have people in it?
The building at Wasserman?
The function hall.
Function hall?
Not yet.
No?
Next winter it will be.
We have both Coverts and Fish and Game have the Speaking for Wildlife and the Wildlife Talks series that go on all the time, and they're often looking for halls or looking for places to hold them. So that would be an easy way to. If they have to have a meeting place. They have to have to sponsor a place to physically have a group.
Did they do this for free, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Speaking for Wildlife is all volunteer, and the Wildlife.
So it's
Talks
just
are all
a state Fish and Game?
Fish and Game and New Hampshire Coverts.
Did he speak with you regarding a program? Because you all have me to thank for this, because when Matt came during the budget presentations and spoke about he's starting several new programs, and many of them are tied into the day camp, the summer day camp. And he had several ideas, and some of them were, some really good ideas. But one of them he was speaking specifically about, it was like a park ranger type of program that kids could participate in. And I thought it was through the day camp. So I suggested to him, if he had anything that was, he mentioned conservation related, that before he kicked off the program, that he might want to talk to the commission about ideas. I didn't realize it was programs all through. I thought they were associated specifically with the kids with the day camp.
I asked him about if it was going to be for like a camp, and he was interested in things that could go on throughout the spring, summer, or fall. No special frequency. Just he wants to get the public and families out to see the different properties and to.
So he was open to the idea of doing these kinds of activities on our properties, not necessarily.
Yes.
At Wasserman, then.
Right. Wasserman, just one place included, along with Greater Woods and Horse Hill and Wildcat Falls, and and he was totally he thought it was a great idea, even having something at each property with the subcommittees involved, and maybe coming up with some kind of topic and giving a walk at that property. He thought he liked that. He just in all this, he just wants to make sure geocaching gets in there. So
I hate to say it, but that's really not like a wildlife or you can do that in like New York City.
but
We did that, we did that initially before Greater Woods, before Greater Woods was the subcommittee, there was Friends of Greater Woods, and the gentleman that, one of the guys we worked with, did a lot of geocaching, and we set up a number of geocaches around Greater Woods trying to get people out there. And we got, it was, you know, they talk about websites, you know, we posted on our website, and we had people coming up from all over the place. And we were trying to get people in town. And we had, you know, we had Neophytes and from all over the whole place coming up. Oh, you guys got a geocache? Well, yeah, it's pretty rudimentary. I'm not sure you guys, you know, 3-4 hour drive up here for the, go ahead.
it's like a hobby, or
Yeah, have fun, guys. But so I can talk to Mark and see if he's still involved in that.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You certainly have a lot of background knowledge about
Yeah.
it.
I'm sure Matt would, you know, want to know about that because that was something he was interested in doing, along with all this other educational stuff
Yeah.
on our different properties.
So there was a scout project, and there is a geocache challenge out on Horse Hill. In fact, I think I've got it posted on the website, actually.
Wait, is this done with GPS or with?
Yeah.
Yeah. When I mentioned that he was actually interested in doing it the old-fashioned way,
Yeah, that's exactly what we did that.
Yeah.
We did 2 courses. We had a compass and a GPS course.
Yeah. I thought the compass was called something else, though. There's a, yeah, sorry, I thought there was another name for doing it that way.
yeah, might be.
Not the old-fashioned one. Yeah, okay. All right.
Yeah, so, you know, I told him that we'd get it on our agenda and we'd talk about it and try to come up with some ideas and maybe some support and maybe get the subcommittees involved and maybe if, you know, that might be enough if each property did one thing. You know, as long as that whatever they were doing was different from the other one on their property. You know, we can talk about different things.
Yeah, Horse Hill has tried a couple of times with set up planned hikes for people just to come out and take hikes, and it had mixed success, but not enough success where it continued. So we would have hike days and stuff like that. So
He said he would, Matt said that he would take care of the advertising for it
Yeah,
and try to
that's-
get word out.
yeah, that's what we would need. We would need better advertising than what we had the ability to do. So, yeah. Yes, yeah, he's into social, well, him and his team, social media and all that too, so. Well, do you think we want to bring Matt in, ask him if he wants to attend one of our meetings and talk about this further, or do you want to first put together a list of ideas and then bring him in? How do you want to do this?
We could probably do both. I mean, we could come up with a list of ideas before the meeting, and then at the meeting, we can all talk about it with him.
Okay.
How's that?
I mean, because regardless of who sponsors the event, you know, there's no reason for us to be operating as separate entities. So we can
Mhm.
post it. We can post it. I mean, who cares really who's running it?
Right.
And maybe get it on each subcommittee's agenda.
Yeah, that was my next suggestion.
All right.
We
Have
did.
the subcommittees talk about it.
We did.
It's probably a good idea. The Wildcat doesn't meet again until March, but I can certainly get it on the agenda.
I think too. I don't know. I don't want to speak for everybody, but I think if Matt has something that he really wants, and there's a speaker that does it, and it's fits under our educational, I think it's something that we should look into
Mhm.
funding.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good comment. You should probably give that to Matt right away.
That we would.
As long as it's not geocaching.
Yes. So when we created our goals, education was certainly one of them, and it's been part of our whole charter as to where we're going was to provide better education. So if he has a particular program that he was considering, especially something that he might want to do during the school year when there's more apt to be people here in town, then he should probably let us know what that is. And then in the meantime, we'll work on something that's a little bit more broader, or something we can do that's more consistent.
He didn't seem to have anything specific when I talked to him in that
Okay.
in those other areas, and he was open to all kinds of ideas that we would have.
Because we had the Raptor lady go to the middle school more than once.
Yeah, and we had the owl lady go there too.
Yeah. So we've done those kinds of things. We could do it as a public thing.
She's got big round glasses. It's really funny. I'm sorry. I could watch that thing over and over and over.
Okay.
Oh, come on.
I-
She pulled out a.
It's
I didn't
it's a
watch
new
it.
generation. It's a new audience. So
She pulled
It
out
might be
a big
worthwhile,
before and
but-
now. Thing was like 3 feet tall.
Well, I've seen
was
different
so cool.
presentations up at Beaver Brook. I haven't seen any local, but yes, Golden Eagle and all that. you
Yeah.
know.
anybody who's had kids go through the district knows who the owl lady
Okay,
is.
well, my kids were beyond the middle school. The middle school wasn't around when my kids were that age. My grandson will be there in 2 years.
Plus, she came to the elementary schools too.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So
So you have up and coming.
yes, my grandson will be telling me all about it. So, Grandpa, look what I saw today.
So Parks and Recs may have funds for this starting in the summer, but we're saying that we could help him out if we have to hire somebody.
Potentially, we could. Yeah. Yeah. Because we fund something education-wise every year. So. And are they still doing Camp Mattia or anything like that anymore? Or the
no.
DC trip?
The DC trip I'm still doing. I think they're still doing the DC trip. Yeah. So, but Camp Martina has.
Yeah,
thank
that's
you.
what I thought. Yeah.
Yeah.
Camp Martina has fallen by the wayside.
Yes.
And we've talked about
We've talked about hosting something up in Greater Woods.
Yeah.
Because they're right there. So.
for a day trip.
That would be cool to have one thing at each property. Would be pretty neat.
I just sent you a link for something.
Thank you.
It's a good. Emma is a fun. She's right up at UNH. She's loves doing. She sets a ton of stuff up. So.
And we
Well-
still have the offer from Jeff.
Yep.
To come back and do something.
Yeah, the vernal pool party. He loves that. He loves doing that. And we had not a huge turnout last year, but it was still a turnout.
That's a good topic, something like that.
Right?
Yeah.
Maybe we could do that again.
That is obviously limited to properties that have lots of little vernal pools.
Right.
So it fits very well at Greater Woods, but
And families love, the whole beaver habitat thing and why it's important and all that.
Yeah, we certainly have our share of beaver dams on Horse Hill, as well as Greater Woods.
Letting the ATVs go through, you'll have a lot of vernal pools.
Yes.
Yeah, there are.
Yes, we will.
are you trying to
Okay.
find good points for that?
All right, so what do we want to do with this agenda item? You'll forward Matt some ideas, and then,
I'll contact him and let him know what we talked about tonight.
okay.
And
See if he wants to come here. I mean, if he
so
thinks it's if it's too early and he hasn't got a clear idea of what he wants to do, that's fine. But offer it to him.
so I can maybe, what's our schedule like? Can I invite him to a meeting in March? Or-
Yeah, well, our next meeting is February 22nd. So
Is that
that's not too soon, I don't think.
okay? And
Yeah.
we're pretty open.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, our schedule is online. You can ask his wife for our schedule. She manages it for us.
I know.
I'll let you know if he's going
Okay.
to come.
All right. Great.
Yep.
Anything else on this item? Okay, so, other business.
Is that a good email?
So the first item is Gage's item, so,
You get two things. Get to the town one from your side. You can check your other mailbox.
That's fine.
seedling giveaway. I think the check got cut.
I believe so.
Yep. And
Everything should be ordered. Everything should be done. We're now just waiting for, what did I say, March, May?
Announce the date and the time and the place again, Gage, because people are really interested.
May 7th.
May 7th.
Saturday, May
Courier
7th,
Orchards.
yeah. From 9 to 12,
From, 9:30? 9:30?
something like that.
9 to 12.
I thought it was 9 to 12 last
Well,
time.
regardless, it doesn't matter what time we say, because people just show up early anyway, so.
Yeah. Yeah, they do.
Try to see if we can entice those fox back out of their holes and they can go show off for everybody again.
Oh, yeah. I would like to have seen them. I saw the pictures, but I didn't see them, so. All right. And then, just so everyone knows, the land donation, still working through that. I need to get the agreement all signed before I put the public hearing out there. So, no roadblocks as far as I know, just process. So, but with both those items, the seedling giveaway and the land donation, when we last took our vote at our last meeting, we didn't specify which fund that those funds need to come from, and I was hoping that we could all stand here and nod our heads and agree that it's Fund 53 that all those monies will come from.
Yep.
Okay.
Yes. 153.
So can you,
So do you want to know why I say Fund 53? So the commission has 3 funds available to it. 53 is just an abbreviation for a long 7 or 6-digit number, but 53 is the first 2 numbers. 53 is a fund that was created for conservation per RSA 36-A, :4, I think. That those monies are going in. Those monies go into that fund from land use change dollars. Yeah, LUCT.
Land use change tax.
Yeah, so and essentially it's a fund that gets money every time someone takes land out of current use and develops it. So right now we have about $730,000 in that fund, and it's the fund that we use to purchase, and pretty much all our expenses go against. Fund 51 was created many, many years ago. Same RSA 36-A. It's for conservation purposes. We are the body who can spend those monies, but it really has no flow of revenue going into it except for earned interest. The only way that it's been making any money or getting any new money put into it is when the conservation budget line item in the town budget wasn't fully spent. When that's not fully spent, anything that's left over goes into Fund 51. But Tim and previous director have been pretty good about spending all their money, which they should. That's what it's allocated for. And we certainly utilize as much of that budget fund as what it's for. So we've been leaving 51 alone. Consider it our emergency, our rainy day fund, if you want to call it that. And then the last fund is the Horse Hill Nature Preserve Fund, which was created solely for the Horse Hill Nature Preserve. And that has a little over $1,000 in it right now. So, and there'll be another race soon, and it'll probably get a little more money put in too. So,
I'd like to speak about that. Actually.
yeah. When we get to commissioner comments.
Okay.
Or we could do it soon. Anything with beaver policy, anything like that? I do want to bring up a couple of other things with you so you're aware. As you know, I've contacted the town's attorney to look into what it's going to take legally for us to discontinue a portion of South Greater Road. Another one of those nod your head events. It's okay that she does that on our nickel. Yes, I mean we've approved the project and everything, but I assumed that it would be okay, and I went forward with it. But I probably should have asked first, so I will try to do better next time. But if you are objecting to that, not a problem. I will cover it anyways, because it's important we get it done. So she's going to probably spend a few hours at her rate to do that. But at least at that point we'll know legally what we need to do, what's the steps the council has to perform, and we'll get it done, or we'll have it ready for when we want to go forward with things.
You should have a roadmap, no pun intended, with 4 or 5 years ago when we did Old Kings Highway.
Right, yeah. That, and she's quite familiar with the road because of the project that was done on one end of it. So Kerry didn't think it would be more than a few hours just to make sure that she got everything right. So, and I talked to her on Friday. So, All right, Old Kings Highway, that seems to be something that you've been bringing up in
Yes.
different ways. So, this is the only thing that's in our records, just so you know.
Ooh, what a bomb.
Beyond what we did in Horse Hill. I have that project information. I can mail you if you want that.
Okay.
So, but Gage has been poking around Old Kings Highway. Can you?
Yeah, just so everyone knows, I was approached by a resident in town here that lives in close proximity to one end of Old Kings Highway up by the Home Depot area. And they very much like walking that trail, and it's a very interesting, it's an old, obviously very old road. So he very much wants to be part of resurrecting that trail through town all the way down into Horse Hill and potentially beyond. So we've just been trying to collect some data on it as to what's been done in the past, where the road is, any historical references, trying to generate some interest as to resurrecting that trail.
Right.
Yeah, that would be a neat.
Yeah. So
That would be a neat thing,
It would be
for
very-
the
it's-
town
yeah,
history,
yeah.
history of Horse Hill.
So the Heritage Commission was doing something with it.
Yes, 2004 timeframe.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I think it did not get as much traction as they wanted because there's a couple houses that are built right over the Old Kings Highway. So
I know Amanda Youngkin's house is near it. Her driveway is part of it, going by Natticook, so.
Yeah, it's right. Yes.
So
Yep.
she has a little bit, I mean, I can ask her what she knows about it, too.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so that's all I could find in our
That's
records.
great. Thank you
I
very
didn't
much.
even look inside. It just said Old Kings Highway, so I grabbed it.
yeah,
It's Andy. So
it's just Andy's writing.
Yeah.
So
so now, Andy's wife spent a lot of time doing research.
yes,
You may want to have that conversation.
she's an incredible historian. If anyone's
Yeah.
got any, she does a great job with that. So
Yeah, Jeannie. Yep.
Yeah.
So that or Anita Krieger. So.
Okay.
Amy, I saw her on Friday. She was looking into what she could find, but she wasn't coming up with much more than what you already knew.
Okay.
So just so you're aware.
all right, thank you.
So another item that came up and that I attended a meeting on Friday with Jim Taylor, Kyle Fox, George May, and Paul. I'm going to butcher his name because I didn't bring his card. In Deglia, he's a member of the Amherst Conservation Commission as well as the Sauhegan Watershed Association, and that's in regards to the canoe kayak put in by Severance Bridge. They're looking to
It's washing away.
right. So there's a big concern about erosion. The town did a culvert, replaced a culvert right by there because the pipe had a hole in it and it was actually sinking. So they did that fix and fixed around it. But there's a lot of troubles with erosion control, parking, just getting stuff in and out. So they would like to do a project in combination with the town's CIP project out for that area to make that better. When I was having that discussion with them, I said, well, something that's always been kicked around with the Ireland property or Fields Farm, which is like 300 yards downstream of that position, was to have a put-in spot there. And that that property is more level and access is likely better, that if we wanted to, we could consider doing a parking lot deeper into the property with access to Amherst Road, where we could actually do a real take-in, take-out. Put picnic tables, maybe have some fishing involved on the side, and do something bigger, and therefore maybe make that put in, put out by the bridge go away. Now, George says, I don't want it to go away. There's good reasons to have it, and I said, I don't have a problem with that going
This
away.
wrap is just down from that bridge, I think.
There is, yes. So you go much further, and you run into what I think is called Indian Ledges or something like that, closest to the Damasian property, where it's just you have to get out of the river unless you're a more qualified kayaker. But it's a project we might want to look at. I explained to the team there, they want to have monthly or bi-monthly meetings to talk about this project, to move it forward. That's involved with the current spot.
They remember that this is the same spot that they said no to when the Eagle Scout wanted to build that set of stairs there.
Yeah, so
I want to make sure
yeah,
that's on the same spot.
yeah. So, which is
I knew it didn't.
Yeah.
But it's an
I knew it didn't
Amherst.
happen, but I didn't know.
Yeah.
That whole parking area, because I know Kyle, they've added material over there a number of times, because they put all the rock down there to stop the erosion, and it now just eddies right there, and it's it ate away at the bottom side of that bank, and they're going to lose a car.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all underpinned.
And there's lots of people going up and down
Yep.
there.
Yeah, someone's going to park a car over there someday, and it's that's chunk.
Yeah.
It's not a parking lot.
It's steep.
It's not a parking lot, and people were using it like a parking lot, and it's not a parking lot.
Right. So that's why I've been thinking, because I either ride my bike past it all the time in the summer, well, when the weather's a little warmer, or I drive by it all the time, that I thought it would be more appropriate to move the access point further downstream to where we can do it correctly, if it's something we wanted to do. So what I was looking,
And if anyone's looked at that road, when you go off the edge of the road, it's
oh yeah,
you can't necessarily get out in and out of there safely.
My only thought is there that, like, are those rapids just below the bridge? Is that and there's a set of rapids above Indian Ledge, I think, because I've been down the river a couple of times, but it's been years. If that's a feature they don't want to miss with the put in, but they could always put in by the golf course and then come
Right.
down. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right.
I also think that you're going to have different types of folks that would want to put it in one place versus the other, because, I mean, I don't know where you're talking about putting a parking lot, but if we put it just past the old foundation area or whatever, or even, it's a hike in.
right.
So if somebody's bringing a canoe,
Well, that's kind of why I'm thinking we need to have a deep access point.
so building a road,
Maybe we can combine it with a forestry project to take care of blowdown and other things that are on that property, because there's a lot of blowdown on that property.
because it's significant from
Mhm.
Amherst Road. That's a significant distance to
Right.
the water.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, it's a couple thousand feet. Yep. So, but it, well, it's quite a project, but if the community got behind it, I know a lot of the active, I mean, like your mountain bike association is very active. Well, the canoers and the kayakers are very active as well.
Whatever
And
happened with that gentleman that came before us? The
he-
outdoor
They
Yeah.
wanted to run a business
well, right,
on our
Okay.
property.
right.
Caillou,
Yeah, but he was just one person, but yeah. But it is quite a community.
Yeah.
So if it was a project we wanted to do in like 17 or 18, if you started putting the right pieces together, you might even find that some of these outdoors places will help support a project like that. You run into that all the time, I'm sure.
EMS is always looking for places to.
Right. Right. So it's something that we should look into. But I don't have the cycles. So I'm throwing it out there if someone was interested in as part of developing the Fields Farm property, is this a project that someone might want to be part of? Because we would obviously want to do it to support our own needs as well,
Yep.
not just that one need. So does someone want to at least be part of the conceptual discussions? I mean, I'm happy to keep the discussions conceptual, but I think once it comes down to doing a little bit more, I don't have the cycles right now, not with the pipeline. So,
I don't either, but if
Is-
there was a subcommittee or something,
I'll obviously donate whatever time I can, but
Does George May want to?
oh yeah, he's
open.
part of this. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
And he thinks this is a good idea.
To continue talking about, yes.
I just want to make sure like he's
Mhm.
on board. And
you're not going to walk in and get blasted.
So, all right. So if anyone wants to attend the meetings, let me know,
Yeah, very
Okay.
much.
Yeah,
Yeah, please.
All right. Because I think it's a good, first step into doing something with that property, and yeah. So those are all the other things that I have. Anything else?
I think it's appropriate to talk about the snowshoe race
Yeah.
that's supposed to be on Sunday.
The mud shoe?
So
Yeah.
Snowshoe race.
I don't know if I haven't seen anything yet, but I don't think it's something that we can allow. because in
Yeah.
the past, they've run it without shoes. They've made the decision a couple of days before, let's run it without snowshoes, we're still going to have the race. I don't see a day above 40 between now and then.
Below 40, you mean?
Yeah, sorry. They're all above 40. So I don't think we can allow 100 people that he had pre-registered
We're supposed to get a lot of rain on Wednesday, too.
to go run our trails
Yeah.
on. Hey, I know people, he's going to have to refund people and blah, blah, blah. I don't think we have the infrastructure to support a race on our mud.
Yeah, you bring up a very good point.
All these fishing derbies, I mean, everything's getting canceled. There's just
Yeah.
the weather, isn't snow, there isn't ice, there isn't anything, so.
I mean,
They've already canceled the tracking class this weekend up in Danbury.
it's not anybody's fault.
Yeah,
It's
they had
just,
a
No.
wildlife tracking class, they've already canceled it.
Is it still up on the website?
It is.
So what's the consensus of the commission? Do you want me to send them a letter?
yeah,
Yes, please.
Trails are closed during mud season.
yeah.
Okay. All right, I will draft a letter. I will CC all of you, and I will send it to 3C Race Productions and copy the subcommittee and let them know what we're thinking.
Thank you, Tim.
I'll let them know that we appreciate it because we usually, the fund usually
Oh,
benefits
yeah,
from it. So,
yeah.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's nobody's fault.
Yep.
It's just-
no, it's a good point.
It's supposed to be snowing or raining over half an inch an hour
On Wednesday.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wednesday night.
Wow.
It's going to be ugly.
That'd be great.
It's gonna start Wednesday morning. It's gonna pour at night, and then it's not gonna stop again until Tuesday or Thursday morning.
Yesterday, I went out and tied my new bridge to the nearest tree.
Where was this?
Greater Woods.
Yeah.
Because the water's already like that far from the bottom of it.
All right, anything else on other business? Okay, minutes of January the 11th.
Oh, we don't have Cindy here.
I have some.
So does that mean you're moving the minutes with
Okay,
corrections, Mike?
yes. I'd like to move the minutes with corrections. Make a motion.
I'll second that.
Sorry.
Go ahead, Mike.
Yeah, no, really. That really hurt. I think sure.
All right, page 2, line 13. Within that time frame, first of all, is time frame, is that one word or two? But my correction was further on. The permit expires and the process would have to be under. All right, I thought that should have been then. But it seems to make sense, I guess. Then the
So-
process. Yeah, either one of those is fine, I guess.
All right, so no correction then?
Yeah, then no correction.
Okay.
Page 3, line 24, the word send should be sent. And then further down on that page, line 59, it would need to be rerouted up around the beaver. Should be Beaver Pond, I think.
Yep.
Then page 4, line 3. The desire would, I think the word "be" is missing there, would be for access.
Yep.
On page 5, line 5, Commissioner Perry stated his opinion, it is necessary. Should be like either stated his opinion that it is necessary, like that word is missing, or stated in his opinion that it is necessary.
I would think in his opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Page 6, line 15. Commission is going to try and limit hunting, which is something he hopes the language will not so much as hunt to, as that is not the intent. I couldn't make sense of that. I don't know.
So I would like
going
to.
to
I'd like
try.
to suggest new wording for that. Okay.
That's exactly what we're trying to avoid.
So raising concern, the commission is going to try and limit hunting, which is not the intent of the revised ordinance, period. I don't care what else it said there, okay? Okay? So basically, right after the comma that says limit hunting, I just want these words, which is not the intent of the revised ordinance, period. Okay?
That's all I have.
Right, I have an additional one on page 7, line 28. Having the ability to enforce an easement and hold an easement on it. The word "and" is missing. That's the only one I have that Mike didn't already capture, so. Anything else? You're welcome to provide input if you read them, okay? Okay, all right. We have an expert on the end of the table over here, too.
Next time.
I was so busy reading about the maple stuff that I didn't read these stuff.
She's a writer, that's what he's alluding to.
Anything else? Again, Don does a fabulous job.
Yes, he
Having to
does.
weed through all us peoples and not be here watching us. Fabulous job.
And then
So,
she had a bazillion town council and budget
Yeah.
hearing minutes to do as well, so she was very busy.
All right, all those in favor of the minutes as amended signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? So that passes 4-0-2 with Jody and Gina abstaining. So, all right, so that's minutes. Public comment. Anyone from the public wish to comment? Have anything to add?
Well, actually, yeah, I've got a comment. Should I come up or?
Yes,
Yeah.
please. You'll have to sign my little thing there too.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jerry Durst. I'm here. Matt invited me to come kind of see what the council is all about and the commission. So I just was here to kind of see if this is something that I might be able to participate in and give something back to the town. So I use Wasserman and Greater Road and Horse Hill, so I'd like to be able to give something back to the community and get involved.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah.
So I can give you the unabridged version of my life story if you like, or do you have specific questions?
So the council is the one that would approve you to be here?
Sure.
So you're welcome to give us your unabridged or abridged.
Okay.
But you'll have to do it again for the council because they're the one that really matter.
Sure.
So all we ask for is that you have a desire.
I do.
And if you're willing to learn, we'll teach you on the fly, just like Gina's. This is her first meeting.
Congratulations.
So So,
Your interest is on this council?
Well,
or
I
one of the
guess, I don't
subdivisions?
think I know enough to really be able to say specifically. I just would like to be able to give back to the community, and this seems like a good forum from, my now vast experience. So,
Well, there's plenty of openings.
yeah. So you need to reach out to Becky Thompson in the town manager's office. Basically, her email is bthompson@merrimacknh.gov.
If you want to give me your name and phone number too, I'm also I'm the town council rep to the Conservation Commission. I would be happy to honestly, very honestly, answer your question about the commission, the obligation, the time, the kind of work, and the different subcommittees. So if you would like to give me your name and phone number, I'd be happy to give you a call, or I could give you my number.
Great.
And I could give you, answer any questions that you had, so that you had a good idea of what it was that you were interested in offering up. And then I could put you in touch with Becky.
Great.
Okay?
Okay, so is that a better first step than to reach out to Becky directly, or both?
I think so. If you're not sure what it is that you'd want to do, probably a conversation where I could answer your questions about all the different opportunities, and then you could figure out what might suit your interests and your time availability.
Okay.
I just, if you were to contact Becky, she's going to ask you what it is you want to do.
And I'll say, I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I would be happy to help you with that.
Okay. All right, well, this is my information. Thank you. Actually, let me put my email on there, sorry.
Okay.
So just very quickly, I moved into town about a year ago. My wife owned a home here already in Bradford Woods. So I moved in from, I grew up in Connecticut in a tiny town, much smaller than Merrimack. This is a big city compared to where I grew up. We just got our second stoplight, in fact.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, so I've lived here for just over a year, and it's a great town. I really appreciate the fact that we can serve as much as we do, and that there's the policies in place where a big business has to have some conservation land. I think that's amazing. I've never seen that before. So I just want to be part of things.
Cool. It's desire. That's a great thing.
Yeah.
So,
Welcome
good.
aboard.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm done. All right.
No, we'll find a place for the volunteer, don't worry about
Great.
that.
Yeah. 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 I mean, what you'll find with us is that we try to exploit and use everyone's strengths, and then divide and conquer. So Matt doesn't do everything. Gage doesn't do everything. I don't do everything. Mike doesn't do everything. Jody doesn't do everything. And Gina, well, she's the new person, so.
So she's going to do everything.
That's right. Yeah. But we try to, wherever your strengths are, exploit strengths, and then let everyone else carry you through your weaknesses, you might say. So.
Great.
Right. Cool.
Yeah, and your group's got a great dynamic, by the way, just as an observer. Don't always see that in these
Yeah.
settings.
Yeah. Well, we've worked hard for that. Yeah.
It wasn't always that way.
Yeah, it was a different group a few years ago. Yeah, absolutely. So,
No, I'll reach out. I'll send you an email, ask you when a good time to
That'd be
talk
great,
is, and I'll
really.
answer any of your questions. So now we have your name. We're going to contact you.
you got to scare him
You can't get
away.
away now.
Come on now. He hasn't been sworn in yet.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks. Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else? Okay. All right. So, commissioner comments. Matt?
The power lines down the side of Greater Woods through our new parcels, they were cut this past
Oh.
week, and really short, like they do over at Horse Hill, and it didn't disturb too much, but from when we were out there 3 weeks ago walking it,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it looks completely different. So yeah, they cut it. I almost wish they did it before we walked it. It would have been much easier getting through there.
Yeah, right.
Now, there was a relatively good path through there. I mean, is it pretty much covered over now with brush?
Yeah.
So you really can't even see the path anymore.
You can.
Yeah.
It's the most beat down area,
Right.
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, it's definitely, I mean, because you saw how tall the stuff was.
Right.
It's there. It
Yeah.
didn't go anywhere.
Yeah.
They took some pretty good sized trees down too on the margins.
Mm-hmm.
They've been doing that around town, actually. There's been a lot of trees taken out for,
And they left a lot of hardwood there.
Yeah, yeah, they just want it down.
Mm.
Okay, anything else,
That's it.
Gage?
I'm all set.
Anything from you?
No, I just wanted everybody to thank everybody.
Hmm.
I'm happy to be here.
Cool.
We are happy to have you. I have a question from the minutes.
Yeah.
The survey denial form. I didn't get a clear picture of what it was the commission decided to do after the end of that discussion. Did you end up sending?
No, we decided not
Something?
to do anything.
Okay.
And that if we felt later it was necessary, then we would draft one and send it.
Okay. Do you object to me throwing my 2 cents in?
No.
Or at everybody's opinion? And the town hasn't crafted a denial because the town, it was their intent to allow access for survey. So the town had a different initiative, in my opinion, and they were actively trying to seek out an agreement that would allow them to would allow Kinder Morgan to survey town-owned property. That agreement still has not happened, and they are not allowed on town property and without that agreement. So I think the town's position was a little bit different than what the commission's position was on this piece of land. And it has been, as Cindy stated, without specific access to survey permission denied, they take that as an allowed. I don't know, because this is a public body and we had that formal meeting where we told them that we weren't interested in allowing them on the property. I don't know that that would be sufficient, but my 2 cents is, if that is the intent of the commission, and that's my understanding it was after the conversation we had with the Kinder Morgan reps that night, that a formal, something in writing saying that we deny permission to that property for the purposes of surveying would be necessary. So I don't expect we have to take action on that tonight. I know this is the end of the night. It's been a long night. But I wasn't positive after reading that what you had decided. And my opinion is that it would be prudent and necessary. So just, you guys can think about that.
All right, Mike?
Just want to probably touch on something about the Piscataqua Land Trust.
Yep.
I don't know. I'm still waiting to hear back from them, and I do have idea of costs and stuff like that. But some future date, I guess we'll have to talk about that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But we're not there yet, anyway.
Okay.
You've been busy. Thank you.
Yeah, everybody's been busy. Thank you. You're welcome.
Okay, I only have one comment, and that is our next meeting is in 3 weeks, not 2 weeks. It's on February the 22nd, and we're going to meet upstairs in the Matthew Thornton room, so that'll be a change in location as well. I'll try to note that on the agenda, but I realize that this room is already taken, so we'll be in the big room, so behind the big tables. Yeah.
You want a pedestal?
There you go.
How would you like that?
Yeah.
Huh? Write them out.
So,
Change it on the website too, because it's got this.
yeah,
Big tavern.
you'll do that?
Sure.
Okay. You said we, I turned it on you.
So since Cindy's not here,
We got to teach the new person her job.
all right. Cindy always makes a motion to adjourn. So would you like to make a motion to adjourn?
Sure. I would like to make a motion to adjourn.
Moved by Gina, seconded by Matt. All those in favor signify by saying aye. The motion passes 6-0-0 at 9:11 p.m.
a great opportunity for communities to pull stuff out of the waste stream. But right now, with the economy down the way it is, the understanding I have is the recycling market has dropped as well, and it's unfortunately, I guess, economy dependent on when that picks up again. So I'm not. My impression is that you don't have significant swings one way or another over short periods of time. That if you're going